we'll kind of do the research as we go along in this set review and try to kind of organically discover how good these cards are. So I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm very uninformed for this, but you know, I think I don't usually have much more preparation than this for set reviews anyway, and I think this will be still pretty good content. So yeah, if you're watching on YouTube after this, you know, I apologize ahead of time, but a bit of lower energy today. I'm just, you know, I'm traveling, I'm jet lagged. It's a long day, but we're gonna get through it. Happy to see you streaming again. Thank you so much. I was streaming yesterday. Some people only tune in if they see Hearthstone. Streams still go on if it's not Hearthstone. Anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and open up Hearthstone here. As soon as it's done updating. Interesting that it's doing that because I literally opened it 5 minutes ago. Okay. Anyway, yeah, let's get started. So, Druid, right? So, Witchwood Apple. 2 mana spell, add 3/2/2 Trents to your hand. So, you know, just off of the raw power level of this card, when you're playing like a fair deck that tries to play good minions, this card's pretty awful. Even for a token deck, it's going to be pretty, it's a big like mana sink, but the way that it could be used is to basically increase the amount of cards in your hand. At the end of the day, you're paying 2 mana to increase your hand count by 2, and that can be pretty effective, considering there's a lot of cards that synergize with having a bigger hand in the new expansion. Outside of being just a pure synergy piece, though, you know, it's not going to synergize very well with the cards that currently exist, and I'm really only seeing, you know, 2 cards that could work with it here in this expansion when it comes to Druid cards. So like, you know, summon a Wisp for each card in your hand, and this guy that gets extra health for each card in your hand. You really only play it with those guys, and you know, I think playing a bad card to make your other mediocre cards less bad is usually a bad strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and say this probably won't see too much play. Yeah. So moving on, we got Druid of the Scythe. Choose one, transform into a 4/2 with Rush or a 2/4 with Taunt. So Rush is a new mechanic in the game. It's basically charge but balanced. And this is a mechanic that, you know, we see in Shadowverse a lot. Hearthstone literally ported it over. Same ability, same name. And it's pretty strong in Shadowverse, at least, when I play it in that game. And Shadowverse is very, very similar. I think that Druid of the Scythe could be very, very powerful. The thing about charge as a mechanic is that basically every single card that's ever said charge on it has seen competitive play, except for like Stormwind Commando. Like I've even seen Face Hunter decks in tournament play that have Reckless Rocketeer. So charge is such a fundamentally broken keyword that they've had to nerf half the cards that have had it, and then basically every card that's ever said charge on it has seen play. So we're talking about how good is Rush. You know, obviously it's a lot worse, right? You can't go face with it. You don't have that potential, but it's a Rush is a mechanic that's good when you're behind, and playing any minion is still good when you're ahead. So at the end of the day, it's I'm gonna consider it generally very good, like very, very good. Like I think a Rush card would have to be super understated to not see too much play, or the archetype for it wouldn't make sense or something. That would be another reason it doesn't see play. So when it comes to Druid of the Scythe, you know, how good is this card? In a vacuum, I think it's solid, right? The Rush mechanic, I think, is pretty good. I think the card itself is, you know, reasonable. It's not broken or anything, but it could be a decent role player card. Do I think it'll see play? I'm going to lean towards no on this card, and the reason for that is that Ultimate Infestation is still going to be in Standard. Correct me if I'm wrong. What sets are rotating out, boys? Wait, what sets are rotating out? It's, I know the Hall of Fame cards, but, let's Google this, huh? Chat, you're useless. I was hoping you guys would help me out. Come on. Whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ultimate Infestation's still in. I think it's Knights of the Frozen Throne. So Ultimate Infestation, because that card is in Standard, all of the Druid decks that you see getting played are probably going to be built around playing that card. So, Druid of the Scythe wouldn't see play in like a typical spell ramp type of Druid deck that's playing like Spreading Plague and cards like that. But where it might see play is in the all-minion Druid deck with Spiteful Summoner and all those cards, because that deck's still going to play Ultimate Infestation. It still has all these powerful tools, and then you just have this guy as a decent 3-mana thing. I think it won't see play if like spell ramp Druid into UI is the go-to build, but I think in the Druid deck that's all minions, I think this could play a role. All right, we got the different forms. The form with Fandral, of course, if he ever actually decided to survive. So we got Ferocious Howl, draw a card, gain an armor for each card in your hand. So on average, this is going to gain you like 4 or 5 armor. It's literally shield block in a deck with ramp. That's kind of cool, honestly. I like this card. Do I think there's a archetype that would want to use it? Well, actually, yes. I think in the combo-oriented Druid decks, any of the Malygos type of lists, with a lot of ramp, they're going to want a card like this, 100%. It keeps them alive, replaces itself, it draws you towards your combo. I think this card, it doesn't look special, but I actually think this is it's going to be a pretty key role player, potentially. This card could see a lot of play. Now, again, when it comes to set reviews, all we can really say is how good cards are in a vacuum, right? And when the metagame actually evolves, it's not like there's 7 different Druid decks that are viable, usually, right? There's usually 1 or 2 that are just better than the other 5. It's hard for 7 decks of the same class to all be balanced. So what that means is, whatever cards happen to be the best in the best archetype for that class, those are the cards that people see as being like broken, even though in a vacuum, like those cards aren't always as powerful, you know? So what I mean by that is like when Patron Warrior was really popular, for example, Unstable Ghoul saw a ton of play, but it wasn't like a broken card from Naxxramas or anything. It was just a reasonable card. And there's only the one deck that happened to play it, but you'd see it every game because you'd see the Patron Warrior deck every game. So, you see this with like Raza Priest, with like cards like Curious Glimmerroot that are like they're good, but they're not broken. The point is, when I say a card is strong in a vacuum, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to see play, and it doesn't mean that it'll be broken. Like just because I say a card is bad, it also doesn't mean it won't see play. Anything can really happen at the end of the day once the expansion comes out, and it's just a matter of, what are like the most played archetypes and what decks fit in those. And those are going to be the cards you see. You don't just see a card because it's broken, you see a card because it fits in a broken deck. Anyway, Ferocious Howl I think will be a role player in combo-oriented Druid. But if combo Druid is like, tier 4, then you're not going to see a lot of Ferocious Howl. So that's what it boils down to. Okay, Witching Hour. Summon a friendly beast that died this game. Hearthstone's all done updating. Let's pull up the collection and do some research together. I'm going to be really hoping the editor puts some effort into this and cuts out all of these little searchy bits. Not necessarily this searching the collection part, but like the big pauses you get sometimes when you're live streaming. Reviewing Hearthstone cards and the Bazaar is coming soon. You are funny, General Kai. The Bazaar is coming, but it's definitely not soon. Oh man, this card's been changed. Better give me dust for making my cards better. Okay, so what was I doing? We can't open packs yet, right? I didn't just, yeah, okay. Wanted to make sure I didn't miss the release date. Okay, so we're going to go to the collection. We're going to search for beasts to resurrect. So we're looking for giant beast animals. Hadronox could be pretty good, actually. When Knights came out, Hadronox Druid was the deck I got Legendary with the first time in that expansion. It was very, very fun, very broken, but so is every Druid deck. We have Grizzled Guardian, Taunt, Death Rattle, recruit 2 minions that cost 4 or less. Okay, I mean, it's a pretty strong beast as well. I mean, I guess if you're just playing only the big beasts, this could be pretty effective. But you really would only want Hadronox or Grizzled Guardian coming back. I guess you could play a deck with both of them. Let's check neutrals. So you're not going to want to be rezzing the little guys. There's some poisonous dudes you could bring back. There's like Plated Beetle, but you probably don't want to play the little beasts in a deck that plays this card. I think you just want to guarantee you're bringing back the big guy every time. Curator's rotating out, I'm pretty sure. And then we have the Donald, of course. Devilsaur's not bad either. Devilsaur's actually very strong with this potentially. But yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I don't really see Resurrecting Beasts as being too crazy powerful. I think that the fact that it's friendly beast definitely makes it stronger, so you can definitely build a deck around this rather than being worried about your opponent's beast dying. But yeah, the most likely way you're getting value out of this is with your Death Rattle guys, Hadronox, Grizzled Guardian. Those are going to be the ways to take advantage of this card. I don't really see this as being like crazy powerful, but there is a world where you play that deck and you ramp up, and maybe that's the combo Druid deck, right? Maybe instead of going Malygos Moonfire, maybe you're bringing out Hadronox, and then you're bringing him back against control, bringing back your Grizzled Guardians, stuff like that. Could be pretty decent. Thank you. Please raise the volume because I'm here at a bar off the coast of Zimbabwe and it's a bit rowdy. The new 312 bear is what this combo is. Well, let's check out the new 312 bear. First of all, let's go to Forest Guide. At the end of the turn, both players draw cards. So drawing cards is so interesting and broken in almost any type of deck that you put this in. With Forest Guide, I actually know this card will see play. But this is the kind of card that sees play in either gimmicky decks or broken decks, usually gimmicky. So you'll see this in like naturalized Druid decks. It's basically playing the role of Cold Light Oracle. You know, with that rotating out, you do kind of need a replacement for something like that. It's a shame that this card didn't come out while Cold Light Oracle was also in Standard, because when you get too many of these effects together and you're playing a deck that has all of them in it, it can do some nasty things. Yeah, I think Forest Guide's pretty sweet. I think you know, it's definitely something that'll you know, help push certain combo or mill-oriented decks forward a little bit. It's also a card you can play in aggro, right? You can play it just like Jeeves. The fact that you're guaranteeing a card off of it before they get a chance to kill it is a pretty big deal. Sure, they get another card themselves, but really you're only playing this in Druid decks that don't care about how many cards your opponent has. Either they're like really aggressive, they just want more cards for themselves and they want to fight for the board, or they are like a mill deck and you're okay with your opponent drawing cards. But yeah, it's got Dad Ass, which helps. 6 health is tough to get through. And yeah, let's move on. So Bewitched Guardian Battlecry, gain 1 health for each card in your hand. This card seems like hot trash to me. I think you're going to need at least 5 cards to make this not suck, and you're going to need 6 cards to make it decent. If it was always a 4/7, it would still be roughly at the same power level as Druid of the Claw. The thing is, Spellbreaker is still going to be in Standard, and Spellbreaker is a card that's, you know, generally pretty good against taunts anyway, but it just blows this card out of the water. So yeah, I don't really see this seeing too much play. A lot of the chat's asking for volume up. Is it possible for us to do that? All right, so Whispering Woods, summon a wisp for each card in your hand. You did? Oh, cool, thanks. Summon a 1, let me know if that volume's good for you guys. Okay, so summon a 1/1 wisp for each card in your hand. Whispering Woods is pretty bad. You know, obviously this is the kind of effect you'd want in an aggro Druid deck to just fill up the board the same way that Living Mana does. And aggro Druid can't play this card because it kind of empties its hand very quickly. When we're talking about slower Druid decks, they generally don't want a lot better, cool. Generally, the slower Druid decks don't want a bunch of wisps in play randomly. If there's something that lets you synergize with having a bunch of dudes in play, like draw cards equal to dudes you have, I can see that being kind of strong, but unless there's some weird Sea Giant combo thingy, I just don't anticipate this seeing too much play. But it is a very cool card, and there's a lot of effects that just generate 1 million tokens now. So, you know, maybe you do play like a mid-range token druid, right? So instead of playing all these aggro dudes and then trying to play living mana and bursting them, you know, maybe you're playing like a Violet Teacher and you have Mark of the Lotuses and you're drawing cards and you play Ultimate Infestation in that deck. There's a world where it sees play like that, but I think I would put my money on it not seeing play. I think it's unlikely that kind of deck is too competitive. I mean, you could make some crazy boards with this. 4 mana for 5 dudes is no joke. That's, I don't know, maybe you can just put 2 Savage Roars in a deck with this thing and just threaten it. I don't know, maybe there's potential. We got Gloomstag. Battlecry. If your deck is only odd cost cards, gain +2/+2. Interesting. So this card is nutty if you actually are playing an odd cost deck. How good that kind of deck would be is another story, right? Like, we'd have to go through this and be like, okay, 1 cost cards, so I'm playing like Jasper Spellstone, you know, or you're going all in the aggro plan. You know, turn 2, what are we doing? Nothing. We're crying. We can only play 3 drops. So then you look at this, and you're like, okay, well, there's some ramp I can play. No Jade Blossom, because I think this is Mean Streets. I think that's rotating. But, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, it's like nobody really knows how good these odd decks are going to be or how good the even decks are going to be until we actually get to play with them and build them and see what these deck lists actually look like. I know they'll be very interesting. I know that the power level on the legendaries that support them is super high, like stupidly high. But, you know, until I actually sit down and play with it, this is one of the harder cards to evaluate, right? Because not only do I have to go through the collection, excuse me, not only do I have to go through a collection, see what a 30-card deck list with this card restriction would look like, but then I have to think in my head, okay, how competitive is this deck against the other decks that people are playing? So I know this is a very cop-out answer, but like, this is actually one of the hardest cards they've ever released to evaluate in Hearthstone. Anything that's odd or even deck based is super tough to evaluate, like super tough. So when it comes down to Gloomstag specifically, basically if the odd cost only deck is good, this card's insane. You just auto include it. If the odd cost deck is bad, then you'll never see it. So I have to go into a bit of a coughing fit, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself. Ooh, all right. Yeah, no problem, service. All right, so on to Pigeon Skank. Duskfallen Aviana. On each player's turn, first card played costs 0. Yep. Splintergraft. Choose a friendly minion. Add a 10/10 copy to your... By the way, this is trash. Okay. Choose a friendly minion, add a 10/10 copy to your hand that costs 10. So not only do I have to have the board and have something be alive. What is this heart emoticon thing that pops up? Okay, not only do I have to have the board, have something in play, then I have to graft it, right? Which means playing an 8/8, no taunt, nothing, no battle cry that affects the board. Right? But then I need to wait a turn and do nothing on 9, and then on 10, I get to play my 10 mana 10/10. This card is like, excuse me, this card is like boogeyman levels of bad. I just do not see a world outside of some ridiculous combo that I'm missing where we'd play this. It would require some absurd stealth card where you could guarantee being in play before turn 8. And then that stealth card would have to, like, win you the game. The 10/10 version of it would have to win you the game. I guess you could do it with like Ravenholt Assassin. I don't know. I think it's real bad. But you know, the beasts that you want to copy with Menagerie Warden and stuff are all stealthy. Too bad Menagerie Warden's rotating out though. Yeah. All right, we got Hunting Mastiff, Echo, and Rush. It's like Unleash the Hounds, but balanced. That's a cool card. I don't see a world where this is very good, though. The reason I don't like this card is because it's very bad to play proactively. If you do have initiative and you do have the board, Hunting Mastiff is really, really tough to play. Like, a card like Unleash the Hounds is also a dead card when you have the board, but, you know, if you ever get to a point where you're losing the game, Unleash the Hounds becomes a burn spell. Whereas this card spends a bunch of mana to try to get you back on the board. I think it's spending like 6 mana to deal 6 damage. It's just very, very weak. I don't think that the early game flexibility on this card is a very big deal. I would argue Hunting Mastiff's pretty bad, and I don't expect this to see much play at all. This is Blizzard once again trying to give Hunter control tools. Yeah, there's no control deck in the history of Hearthstone that would play this card. All right, so we got Dire Frenzy. Give a beast +3/+3. Shuffle 3 copies into your deck with +3/+3. Interesting. So, it's a very interesting card. Well, the best comparison is Blessing of Kings. Hunter's never really had an effect like that before. Between this and Houndmaster, you could have some pretty swingy boards early on. I think that, you know, obviously this card is worse than Houndmaster, at least to me. It's pretty obvious. I would much rather have the taunt, have a 4/3 body next to it, and, you know, lose +1/+1. The 3 copies that you're shuffling into your deck is very cool, but in order to really take advantage of that, it's kind of like the rogue 4-mana minion that shuffles Spider Ambushes into your deck. You need to draw a lot of cards to take advantage of this kind of mechanic. And the kind of deck that you would put this in, the kind of deck that would want a 4-mana beast buff and Hunter, is not the kind of deck that wants to play a long drawn-out game where it's drawing all of its dire frenzied minions. It's possible that there's synergy with tracking. I don't know if tracking, like, when you get the 3 tracking choices, would it show you the buffed version of it, or would it show you just like a normal version? I don't know how that interaction works, but it's possible that with tracking you can actually churn through your deck pretty quickly and get to the good hits. So I suppose that card can make this work, but yeah, overall I think, you know, it's not the worst. It's a fine card. I think Blizzard's gotten very good at making decent power level stuff, and not just cards that are outright broken or outright terrible. So props to them, because a lot of these cards are really damn hard to evaluate until I actually sit down and play with them. It's possible that Dire Frenzy is just insane. I mean, if you do buff a cheap beast, and you're shuffling that into your deck, this could do some crazy stuff. Like, you know, you're tracking into that, you're playing like Dire Mole as like a 1-mana 4/6. That's pretty absurd. So yeah, I'm not going to say it's unplayable, but I will say I think it's unlikely that it sees too much play. So, so yeah, Vile Brood, Skitterer, Poisonous, and Rush. So it's a 5-man. It's Assassinate. It gets stopped by Taunt. That is pretty annoying. And it's unlikely that you could run it into something and have it survive. It's that it kills 2 things. Yeah, I mean, to me, it just feels like another kind of mediocre reactive Hunter card. And, you know, unlike a lot of the minions that they could print for this class, this isn't just good all the time. In fact, it's good kind of never, you know? If you're spending 5 mana to kill, like, a 6-drop, that's, like, the best-case scenario with this. And that's not even that good. So I think Vile Brood Skitterer is hot trash. And I don't think this card will see play at all. I think the big thing to keep in mind about Vile Brood Skitterer, the most important part of this card, is that you'll see it off of Rexxar. And this card off of Rexxar is a huge deal, like a huge deal. When you put Poisonous and Rush as 2 keywords onto something, that's massive. So Alright, we got Duskhaven Hunter. Each turn this is in your hand, swap its attack and health. A 3-mana 2/5 stealth is not bad. I mean, of course, it's a shame it's not a beast, because, you know, since it's not a beast, you can't just go into your Houndmaster or your Bear Buff card. What is that card called? Dire Frenzy? Bear Buff. Bear Pants. Yeah. So unfortunately, it doesn't work with that. So I still think I'd rather play like a Giant Wasp or a Jungle Panther over a card like this. I think it kind of shows the swap back and forth mechanic in a pretty cool way. But I think when it comes to the playability of this card, it's just unlikely to see too much play. So if this card starts in your opening hand, you can't guarantee the high attack guy on turn 3 either, right? Because it starts in your hand, and then on turn 2, you're getting the 5/2, and on turn 3, it's back to 2/5. If you have the coin, you can coin out the 5/2 stealth. So I guess in mulligans, if you're playing a really face-oriented hunter deck, you can keep this card in your opener if you have coin. Turn 2, you can play a 5/2 stealth, and you can just start getting them. I just don't really see that as being good enough, though. I think minions have gotten too strong over the course of Hearthstone. I don't think this cuts it anymore. It's a cool mechanic, though. All right, Wing Blast. Deal 4 damage to a minion. If a minion died this turn, this costs 1. So I can't pinpoint a deck that this fits into very easily, but this card seems very good to me. Like very good to me. It's a very easy condition to meet. It's basically the morbid mechanic from Magic. It's really easy to have minions die, especially when you're playing a hunter. So I think that, you know, it's not a question of will this card cost 1 mana. It's a question of when will this card cost 1 mana, because, you know, the turn that you have a clean, efficient trade and you can make this card really efficient, that turn might be better spent curving out and using all of your mana on a different guy. So sometimes you get the cheap Wing Blast, but you don't want to use it exactly. But I think most of the time it's a pretty easy card to set up. I see this as being potentially very, very strong. This could be a class-defining card, to be honest. 1 mana deal 4 is just an excellent recovery tool for getting back on the board. But I will say, the interesting thing about Wing Blast is that if you fall too far behind on board, it's actually kind of useless, right? Because if you've lost the board so much that you just don't have minions alive at the beginning of your turn, you can't really use this as a recovery tool then. But if you're still in a position where you're wrestling for board control, this could definitely pull you far ahead. I think Wing Blast has a ton of potential. I think this is the kind of card Blizzard needed to be printing more of if they wanted the class to see play. So, yeah, I see this as like, if there's ever a fair hunter deck that just does fair huntery things, this will be a core piece of that. All right, we got Carrion Drake, which is a 5-mana 3/7. Battle Cry, if a minion died this turn, gain Poisonous. Well, it's a dragon. That's kind of neat. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. Honestly, I think this card's pretty awful. When it comes to 5-drops, you know, most of them have, let's say Bittertide Hydra, for example, right? And Bittertide Hydra is a card I would play in my hunter deck. Cool thing about Bittertide Hydra is that it also has Poisonous in the form of fucking 8 attack that kills your opponent. So to compare, like, okay, Bittertide might be rotating out. I would have to look at expansions, but the point is, like, compared to the 5-drops we've seen, compared to Tundra Rhino, I don't see this card as being, like, nearly as powerful. Tundra Rhino just wins the game if it doesn't die the turn after you play it. So it's a pretty powerful upside. When it comes to Carrion Drake, it's like, what? I get to kill big minions sometimes. The 7 health on it, like, if the Poisonous matters, then the 7 health doesn't matter, you know? If the fact that my creature is Poisonous matters, it means that I'm hitting something that has, like, a ton of health, right? A bigger minion. If I'm hitting a bigger minion, it's just going to eat my 7 health Drake anyway. So I really think they could have pushed this card further. I think this could have been like a 1/9 I think that could have been very interesting, like a 1/9 dragon. But yeah, I mean, as is, I just don't see why you'd ever play this card. Yeah. I mean, we've seen how little play my Exna saw, right? And that card's not that much better. All right, Rat Trap. Secret. After your opponent plays 3 cards in a turn, summon a 6/6 rat. This card's pretty easy to play around, especially because a lot of folks are using deck trackers now. It's interesting. Sometimes you can just get them, I guess. The cool thing about Rat Trap is this is one of the highest upside cards that we've ever seen off of a trap. Like, it's the most powerful trap effect you can get in Hunter, right? I think that a 6/6 rat is worth like 5 mana or something as a minion. To be able to get that for 2 is just crazy. The issue with Rat Trap is that the only time your opponent will be playing multiple cards in a turn is later on in the game. It'll be like, you know, like turn 8, 9. At that point, the fact that you're getting a 6/6 for 2 mana isn't as big of a deal as if you got it like on turn 3, you know. So Rat Trap is a card, first of all, it will never be mainstream, ever. This card cannot be mainstream because as soon as everybody's playing it, everybody's playing around it. And this is an incredibly easy trap to play around. It's not like Cat Trick where they're forced to play into it. But if you want to play like one copy and just really cheese some people out, you can do some crazy stuff with Rat Trap sometimes, just get them. But I think this is dust, to be honest. I would be astonished if this saw a lot of play. We got Doom Rat. Gross. Toxmonger. Whenever you play a 1-cost minion, give it poisonous. Nice. You know what would be weird? If they printed playable Hunter cards for once. Houndmaster Shaw. Ooh, good stats. Your other minions have Rush. Yeah, I could play this card. It's not bad. Those are pretty good stats. I mean, it's Water Elemental. Pretty good upside. It's just all other minions. Doesn't matter what their stats are. It's a little sad that we're seeing Kindly Grandmother leave. I think that kind of card would enable a lot of these minions dying mechanics, and it's really good with Rush and Charge. Yeah, honestly, I feel like Houndmaster Shaw is pretty strong. Is this his first time looking at the cards? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But yeah, I think this card's solid. I think you'll just run it in your mid-range decks. And I think, you know, even in the slower Hunter decks, if there are any, you wouldn't mind playing this card. It's actually kind of a shame that it wasn't around the same time that Cloaked Huntress was, because that could have been pretty solid. It definitely would have fit in that deck. Emerus, 10 mana, 8/8. I'm not even going to read what this does. We're just going to move on, boys. We're just going to move on and shed a tear for Rexar. Snap Freeze. Well, I should... Does it say win the game? What does it say? Just make sure it doesn't say win the game. Double the attack and... Oh, my God. Oh. Okay. Snap Freeze. So, on to Mage. Freeze a minion. If it's already frozen, destroy it. I remember playing Shatter on stream and saying this is how the card should have been designed. And they actually made it a separate card. Honestly, the cool thing about this is just from a design perspective. I think that it's cool that Blizzard is kind of okay with printing a strictly better version of something now. And I hope that they're more comfortable doing that moving forward. I'm seeing Blizzard's card design become closer and closer to Wizards of the Coast card design as they get more experienced with expansions. And honestly, I'm really liking the feel of Witchwood so far. Like, I'm not seeing a bunch of cards that are just, you know, straight up cancerous for the game, like Karazhan or something. I think this would, yeah, this is how you should design cards. You know, I think their philosophies are getting polished. All right, we got Black Cat, which is Ezra Drake if you only have odd cost cards. Whoops. So once again, I have to, got to go in the collection. We got to go to Mage. I got to see what odd cost cards look like, because we can't do Babbling Book. I know that with odd cost, actually, it's pretty easy to do elementals. Actually, I think we might have Open the Waygate still, right? Is Angoro still in? Or is Angoro rotating out? I guess we'll find out. See, we have Explosive Runes. There's some good secrets, but no archaeologist. Or Arcanologist. Kieran Torn Secrets is pretty powerful still. Okay. And then on 5, we get absolutely nothing besides new expansion cards. And on 7, we get Tony and Flame Strike maybe. Ooh, we can even throw in a Jaina for value. I could see this, I don't know, I could see this kind of mage deck being pretty good actually. Just like a mid-rangey deck that tops out at Jaina. Has a lot of these efficient cards like Black Cat. That could be pretty good. Witchwood is in collection and uncraftable. Also, you can use keyword odd. Oh, really? Does work now? Okay, so you can't use the keyword odd. Include uncraftable cards. Okay, so wait, can I do odd uncraftable? Okay, they are in here. I got Black Cat. But these are just cards that have the keyword odd on them. If your deck is only odd cost cards, upgrade your hero power. Yeah. I'm not feeling it. You know, honestly, the thing about Baku, the Moon Eater, it's upgrading your hero power. That's a big deal. Does that mean that means that you can do your 1-drop on 1 and then you can just hero power on 2. And that's not bad. 2 mana, 2 damage on 2 is reasonable. This could actually be pretty solid. Also, this guy's a beast. So you can actually resurrect him in your Druid deck. With the resurrect card. It's kind of interesting. Okay. Yeah, again, I'm going to say this one more time, guys. I've never seen an expansion like Witchwood where you have to do so much damn research to do a card review. It's actually ridiculous. I have to, like, not only are all of these cards involving building out a 30-card archetype, like, I have to build an entire odd and even deck for every class just to even see what they look like and how good they are. But then on top of that, there's the set rotation happening. So then I have to go through all of these cards I've been playing with and figure out which ones can I not use, which ones are rotating out. And then after doing all of this juggling in my head, I end up with some deck list, and then I have to judge the deck list and see how good they actually look. It is such a hard set to review, and I'm really sorry that I can't give you guys just a more solid one, to be honest. Like, I don't have the time to do 20 hours of research on this to build decks for you ahead of time. I'm just going to give you my impression of these cards as I see them, and then I'm going to dive into the gameplay starting tomorrow and just see how it goes, or day after tomorrow because I'm in Europe. Yeah, we're just gonna learn firsthand what works and what doesn't, you know. Mana odd. That's how it works. Okay. Interesting. If you're holding a dragon, gain 1 attack and taunt. Huh. So Wormguard explains all of the dragons are given to Hunter. That's kind of neat. All right, let's keep moving on. We got Vex Crow. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random 2-cost minion. Huh. Well, it's a 4-mana 3/3, which means that you have to play at least one spell to break even on the stats, right? If it was a 4-mana 3/3 that summoned a random 2-cost minion, that would be about as good as Mire Keeper with no choices. So I have to play Vex Crow on like 6 mana. I have to play a Frostbolt with it. And my payoff is I've gotten Chillwind Yeti. Pretty mediocre, right? I have to play 2 spells for it to be a good 4-drop. So that means playing it super late game. I play the 2 spells, and what is my big payoff? A slightly above average 4-drop late in the game. Not even on turn 4. It just doesn't seem like a lot of payoff, you know? An extra 2-cost minion just isn't that high. So, you know, I feel like with Vex Crow, especially because you can't play it on curve in most games. I think it's just a very mediocre card. There is a world where you have control of the board and you just jam this thing on 4 and then it survives somehow, but there's just no way it makes the cut. Tempo Mage is going to have better tools than this. There's no way. There's no reason to play this card. I see that as being pretty terrible. All right, we got Cinder Storm, which is deal 5 damage randomly split among all enemies. That's kind of neat. So this is going to count your opponent's face, I believe. Doesn't this count the opponent's face? So let me get this straight. I'm getting arcane missiles with more complicated wording. I get 2 more damage for 2 more mana. This card seems like hot garbage to me. This card seems like why does it cost 3? I guess if it cost 2, maybe it would be too good. I just don't see that. Oof. I think that the RNG on this card is a little different than Missiles. Missiles goes 1 by 1. So it, after it kills the minion, the rest is guaranteed to go to the face. But the way Cinder Storm is worded, I wonder if it could assign like 3 damage to a 1 health minion. Which would make it like even worse than that. It would be, oh. Yeah, I think this card's pretty awful. All right, Bonfire Elemental. Battle Cry. If you played an Elemental last turn, draw a card. I love this card. This card's so good. Yeah, the Elemental Mage deck might actually be very strong moving forward. But do mana odd. I hate that you can't just like add words to the search bar. You have to retype everything. I wish they'd fix that. All right, mana odd space elemental. So in an odd elemental deck, we'd be jamming Artificer, Jaina. We got more 1-drops, and then we're going into like Igneous Elemental, Tar Creeper. Thunder Lizard might actually make the cut. Servant, Blaze Caller, maybe Arcane Tyrant. I mean, that could be a deck. I think it's unlikely. It's crazy how much lower power level that feels like compared to something like Q-Block. If the odd Elemental Mage deck is a thing, I mean, I think you do run this thing, but the power level's there. A 5-mana 5/5 that draws is just good. It's just damn good. Ezra Drake, if Ezra Drake didn't have spell damage and it was just a 4-mana, or if it was just a 5-mana 4/4 that drew a card, it still would have seen play in just about everything, so. All right, Curio Collector, whenever you draw a card, gain +1/+1. So you kind of need to draw 2 cards off of this for it to be slightly better than a Pit Fighter. I think it's just a little bit too hard to make work. It would just take a very long time. So I'm definitely not in love with this card. What I do love about this card is the artwork and the flavor behind it. I think it looks damn cool. This is... it's actually exactly the kind of creature I want to... The flavor on this art is like the flavor I want on a lot of the cards in the Bazaar. This card looks so cool. But, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't think it'll see much play. Book of Specters. I think this is one of the most interesting mage cards in the expansion. So, draw 3 cards, discard any spells drawn. So you can't run this in the odd mage deck. And you can't really run it in a Spiteful Summoner mage deck. I mean, you could, but you don't want to run it in a Spiteful Summoner mage deck. So it's an interesting effect. I think that if you're getting 2 cards off of it, that's already a 2-card Arcane Intellect. That gets you pretty deep into your deck, assuming that you don't have like must-draw spells. Discarding a spell won't be too much of a drawback. So I think that on average, if you have 10 spells or less in your deck, which is reasonable, right? That could be most decks in theory. If you have 10 spells or less in your deck, this card becomes pretty nuts. And I don't think it's too hard of a condition to meet. I will say Mage is like the one class that, doing this can be very hard in, but yeah. I will say that just ahead of time, before I even play it on stream, before I even do anything with it, I would just like to say the Book of Specters can go fuck itself because I'm going to draw 3 spells immediately the first time that I play it. And that's not, that's not paranoia, it's not a negative mentality, that's just a fact, that's just what's going to happen on the first time. So yeah, fuck this card and fuck everybody who upvotes the Reddit post of that clip. But yeah, I think it is strong. I think it is a good card. I think it'll see some play in something. You can't have a 2-mana draw 3 without it being viable in one way or another. All right, Arcane Keysmith, Battlecry, discover a secret, put it into the battlefield. Wow, okay. Whew. So we're losing a lot of the strongest secret synergy cards. Well, Medivh's Valet at least, the biggest one, with One Night in Karazhan rotating out. A 4-mana 2/2 that adds a secret to the battlefield. That's interesting. Oh man, I think discovering one is probably better than randomly pulling one out of your deck. It's close. It's really close. It's roughly the same power level. You're paying 4 mana for a secret. I mean, it's like paying 3 for the secret and 1 mana for a 2/2, right? It's just, I just don't see this as being good enough. I think they statted this card correctly. I think if it was a 3/3, this card would be broken. It would be way too good as a 3/3. I think as a 4-mana 2/2, that is just, like, it's just weak enough that it's probably not worth it. And it's not like you can use this to chain extra ice blocks anymore either, because that card's going into Hall of Fame. So, yeah, personally, I feel like Arcane Keysmith is a card that probably won't see too much competitive play, but it's a really interesting design. This is the kind of card where they, as developers, they really have to get the numbers right on this card. I mean, it's not even like a 2/3. It's a straight up 2/2. That's really pushing it. I don't see this as being good enough. I would be really surprised if it is. But that's a hard card to balance. If it was a 3/3, it would be too good. All right, Archmage Arugal. Okay. Whenever you draw a minion, add a copy of it to your hand. Whoa. This card's pretty good. You can't play it in the odd mage deck. It's a big deal. You're definitely playing this in the Book of Secrets mage. It's tough to know if there's a good home for this card, but it's a pretty powerful effect on a reasonable body. A 2-mana 2/2 with strict upside that's kind of a must-kill is pretty powerful. Coming from a game like Magic where you have Robert, Dark Confidant, this card it's not that good because minions can attack minions in Hearthstone, but it's pretty powerful a lot of the time. The fact that you can drop this and play like a Book of Secrets alongside it is just kind of crazy. The question is, does drawing a ton of minions actually help you? And it's going to really depend on what the metagame looks like. These Death Knights are still so damn broken, and it's just, when your opponent plays a Jaina, or when they play a Gul'dan, or when they're playing Q-Block or something, how does drawing, like you could draw 8 minions in Mage for 2 mana, and it wouldn't matter. Like, how are you getting through Void Lords? How are you winning the game, actually? It's really tough to say. Maybe you just play Book of Secrets and this guy in like a Spiteful Summoner deck, and you just hope you high roll with the Spiteful Summoner. That definitely might be a strategy. I don't know. But yeah, overall, I feel like the effect is powerful. I can't put my finger on a deck that you'd put him in directly. So, yeah. At the end of the day, looking through these cards, it's terrifying how good Q-Block still looks. Toki, Time Tinkerer, 6-mana 5/5, Battlecry, add a random legendary minion from the past to your hand. 6-mana 5/5 that draws a card definitely isn't bad. It's too bad that it's a random legendary you can't pick. It's a pretty fun card. I really like the flavor on this. I think it's a really cool effect. I like that they're kind of playing with wild cards a little bit more. And most of the wild legendary minions aren't going to be game-breaking necessarily. I hope this includes Hall of Fame cards like Ragnaros. Yeah, overall, I think Ohio. Yeah. I think this card could be good. It curves perfectly into the Dr. Boom that my opponents will get off of it every fucking game. Again, it's one of those cards that I don't see like a home for it. You know, I don't know what mage deck wants a 6-mana 5/5 that gets you a dude. But if there is one, well, now we have Toki. It is a very fun card. I guarantee you I'll be streaming with this card. I'll throw it into some stuff and just see what we can do with it. But yeah, I don't think this card has like some slam dunk archetype that it fits into. Yeah. All right, Rebuke. Enemy spells cost 5 more next turn. Whoa. This is an interesting card. They made it a common. Yeah, we haven't seen an effect like this in a very long time. This is like Lotheb, but balanced. We've honestly never had an effect like this in Hearthstone, and because of that, it makes it so hard to evaluate. Like, Lotheb was a no-brainer nutty card, because you didn't sacrifice anything to play Lotheb. The stats were just good on it. Rebuke, you sacrifice something. You have a dead card. I mean, you want to play it in aggro, clearly. Oh, man. What a hard card to evaluate. So here's the thing about Rebuke, right? This is the scenario where this card is good. You're playing Rebuke in your aggro paladin deck, right? You have Call to Arms. You're probably playing all even cards, so you get upgraded hero, or so you get 1-mana hero power. And you build up a board, right? And what you do is you, on like turn 6 or something, you go like Call to Arms, Rebuke, right? So you have big board, you play Rebuke. Now at that point, your opponent's at like 17, 18, something like that, and you have to kill them the next turn, or they give you the dick. So you have to like, basically what I'm saying is you have to kill them the turn after you Rebuke, or else they're going to wipe your board anyway. That's going to be pretty painful regardless. It's the kind of effect that either wins you the game or just rots in your hand, and I think time will tell whether this is a natural fit in a paladin deck or not. My instincts tell me that it's bad, but at the same time, I've never played with a card like this in Hearthstone, and time will tell if a 2-mana dead card is worth it in your hand for those times that it just steals the game and wins you the game. It's powerful, I'll say that much. It's a very powerful card. You can whittle your opponent down, play fairly, and then just get them as soon as you set up the board for it. Could be pretty good. Could be pretty good. Draw 2 Rebuke, play no dudes, lose, feels good, man. Yeah. All right, Sound the Bells. Echo, give a minion +1/+2. Yeah, I think this card's pretty awful. Playing it for 4 mana isn't, I mean, okay, you get plus. Wait, so you don't get to pick a new target every time. Oh, no, you do. It's like Unstable Mutation. Maybe this could be, it's tough to say what you would cut for this, right? I think that the flexibility on this card doesn't outweigh the fact that it's inefficient, like at every cost. And this is true of all Echo cards, right? If you had to play Sound the Bells for 4 mana every time and give 2 minions +1/+2, you wouldn't play it. If you could only do it 1 time, you wouldn't play this card ever. So the question starts to become like, how much is the flexibility really worth on an effect like this? And the flexibility of Echo changes in value depending on what the card actually does. So Sound the Bells, for example, is a minion buffing card for +1/+2. The only decks that care about minion buffing like this are more aggressive, tempo-oriented paladin decks. The aggressive, tempo-oriented paladin decks just want the most efficient stuff for their mana at every cost. So I think this kind of effect is exactly what you don't want on an Echo card. Now, the Echo cards like the Whirlwind for Warrior, for example, like the Whirlwind effect doesn't make sense in aggro. It's good in like slow controlling decks. And slow controlling decks can take advantage of Echo, and they can justify having, paying a little extra to have that flexibility across different costs. So yeah, I don't think Sound the Bells is good enough, but I do think that's just because of what the effect is and what kind of deck you'd want to play this in. Aggro Paladin just doesn't want Echo. Ghostly Charger, Divine Shield, Rush. Ooh. I mean, it's powerful. Rush, Divine Shield, reminds me of a Noitron, to be honest. The big one. Rush is probably better than Taunt. The fact that you're paying 5 mana to kill like a 3-drop is pretty sketchy. But you're not losing many stats. The real tough thing about Ghostly Charger is it's just like a decent dude, It's like a pretty good card that does pretty good stuff, but it's nothing special. It's not like some broken aggro card like Call to Arms, and it's not some broken control card like Jaina, and it's not some sort of like niche role-playing effect like a quality that you just need in some archetypes. So, the question then becomes what kind of deck plays just a decent dude on 5? And usually no deck does. This has to compete against the likes of Cobalt Scalebane and cards like that, and I probably don't see this cutting it. But yeah, in Arena this card would be insane. Yeah, you'll take just good men all day in Arena, but yeah, I don't think the pony's going to see too much constructed play, to be honest. We got Paragon of Light. Well, this minion has 3 or more attack. It has Taunt and Lifesteal. Interesting. Makes sense that they print this card after Mean Streets of Gadgetzan rotates out. We wouldn't want the oppressive hand buff mechanics of that expansion ruining Standard for us again, would we? Yeah, so to buff this card is not the easiest thing in the world. There aren't a lot of cards that you just naturally want to play that do that. There are things like Rallying Blade that are a little bit more specialized. There's cards like Blessing of Kings that you could throw on this on curve and have be decent. But in general, we just haven't had great tools for Pants decks. And I don't see this as being that strong of a card, or that much stronger than Atis, Darkbane, or Fiola Lightbane, like the spider tanks with upside before. This card's pretty similar. Yeah, I just don't think we have the tools for it just yet. I think the 1-mana spell for Paladin that gives a minion +1/+2, basically like the Echo Bell thing, but the 1-mana version, I think that is one of the better buff cards for like tempo-oriented Pants decks and Galvadon decks. But you're not going to want to play that card just to make this Paragon thing active. So this card's kind of cool because you can play 2 of it, I guess. It's not legendary, but I think it is unlikely that kind of archetype really sees play. And you're only going to care about the lifesteal and the taunt against other aggro decks. So yeah, it's very rare that Paladin Pants decks care about their life total as a resource. So I think the upside you're getting on this isn't that high either. If it gave itself like Divine Shield once you buffed its attack or something, that'd be a different story. Bellringer Sentry, Battle Cry, and Death Rattle. Put a secret from your deck into the battlefield. Whew. Okay, so we're giving up 1/1 of stats off of Chillwind Yeti. In exchange, we're getting 2 secrets, one up front and one later. Okay, in a vacuum, this card is good enough to see play, for sure. A 4-mana 3/4, pulls 2 secrets out, is a good card. Now, the problem is there aren't too many other reasons to play secrets besides this card, as far as I can tell. So because I can't, because I have to play some secrets just to make this card good, that's usually a hallmark of a card that won't see play. Because you don't usually want to play cards that are only good when you're supporting them, basically. You just kind of want stuff that's good on its own. So I think that, yeah, especially considering it's not like we have Avenge in Standard or anything like that, I'm going to go ahead and say that Bellringer Sentry probably won't see too much play, but it's not because it's a bad card. It's just because there aren't enough other reasons to play secrets besides this guy. And I just don't want to put secrets on my deck just for him. So maybe if the secrets are a little better. This is what people said about Challenger. Yeah. You guys want to know the secret about Mysterious Challenger? And it's not a secret because I was saying it on stream during Standard when that was being played. Mysterious Challenger was the least relevant card in that entire deck. Mysterious Challenger was like the worst card in the Mysterious Challenger deck, just so you know. Like, the secrets and all that garbage didn't matter. What mattered was Shielded Minibot and Muster for Battle. And the secrets just gave you stuff to do on turn 1. So Paladin was the only deck that could fill the gap in between Haunted Creeper and Piloted Shredder, while Challenger was in Standard. And Challenger just happened to be a decent 6-drop that you can play in a deck that just tries to play the best thing on curve. But it's not like that deck would have been unplayable without Mysterious Challenger. If Mysterious Challenger never existed in that format, that same fucking Paladin deck would have still been the best deck. It wouldn't have had secrets and it wouldn't have had Challenger, but it still would have been the best Standard deck just because it had the best minions at every cost. So there was no other deck that had a good 3-drop. That deck played Muster for Battle into Shredder. Everybody else played like Hero Power into Shredder. Every idiot in chat is like, the Mysterious Challenger. Fuck you. Okay, so Silver Sword. After your hero attacks, give your minions +1/+1. Interesting. So I already have to have the board for this to be good. Yeah, I'm not really feeling this card. I think it's pretty awful. I think Vine Cleaver is pretty good. I don't think this card is that much better, so I think the fact that you're paying 1 more mana just for this kind of effect is a little bit rough. I mean, the cool thing is you don't necessarily need to have the board. You could play Silver Sword, and then the next turn you play stuff and then attack with it. So you actually do get buffs like the next 3 times you swing with it, which is pretty strong. But I definitely don't think it's good enough, you know. An 8-mana weapon has to do just a little bit more than this, especially when you're behind, to be worth the slot. I would definitely rather play Tyrion for sure. I'm pretty sure I'd rather play Vine Cleaver as well, so I'm not sold on this guy. All right, Hidden Wisdom. Ooh, new secret. After your opponent plays 3 cards in a turn, draw 2 cards. Ah, interesting. Well, maybe... It's possible that Hidden Wisdom alone makes Bellringer good enough. The thing about Hidden Wisdom is it's not like a good secret, but it's a secret that you can play a singleton copy of just to limit your opponent for the rest of the game. Like, they'll know that it's what you're pulling out of Bellringer, but then they have to play in a different way for the rest of the game. So you're kind of getting value out of it anyway. You're limiting their options. I think it's unlikely that this is good enough to make Bellringer see play. And in and of itself, it's not that strong of a secret, but it's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting. This into 1 coin 1? It's not like you win the game when it goes off either. You're just getting Arcane Intellect at a bit of a discount. And you're not even getting the cards up front, so there is a cost you're paying. All right, we got Cathedral Gargoyle, Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. So I've seen a lot of dragon cards get printed in this set. There's a bunch of... Did Paladin get any? There was a bunch of Hunter ones. There's a bunch of Hunter ones. Yeah, so it seems like there weren't any Paladin dragons, unfortunately. But a 2-mana 2/2 Taunt Divine Shield could be pretty nuts. I think that Shielded Minibot is not as broken as it once was. The truth about Hearthstone is that, just like any other card game, there's kind of minion power creep over time. And as broken as Shielded Minibot was back in the day, it's just not nearly... It wouldn't be nearly as good in today's metagame just because the minions are a lot stronger now. So this card is basically a Shielded Minibot that you have to work for. So I think, you know, in something like Wild, this will be a pretty strong card, but in Standard, I just don't see this playing too much of a role. Got the Glass Knight, Divine Shield. Whenever you restore health, gain Divine Shield. So this card's really interesting. I mean, the first thing that jumps to mind is Cthulhu's Chosen. And Cthulhu's Chosen is a card that, when it was spoiled, nobody had ever seen a 4-mana 4/2 Divine Shield like that before. And we're kind of comparing it to Piloted Shredder in some ways, because it was a minion that just seemed pretty good. We hadn't seen that stat line before, or that keyword on that stat. So it seemed like a card that there weren't that many good ways to get rid of. And that was kind of true in practice. Like, Cthulhu's Chosen was definitely not a bad minion, but it wasn't broken, you know? Like, you weren't just playing it in non-Cthulhu decks because it was so good. When it comes to the Glass Knight, it's pretty much Cthulhu's Chosen with upside, right? Like, a lot of upside. First of all, you get an extra point of health. That's the biggest point. You go from 2 health to 3 health. All of a sudden, most 2-drops don't trade into that anymore. Now it's 3 drops that trade into it. That's a huge deal. The jump between 2 and 3 health has never mattered as much in Hearthstone as it does right now, because Blizzard changed their policy on 2-mana minions. So they're not making like Whirling Zap-O-Matics and Totem Golems and stuff like that anymore. All the 2-mana minions are just like 2/2s with upside now. So when you have 3 health against a bunch of 2/2s with upside, that's pretty damn good. And restoring health is pretty easy as well, even in a deck that's more aggressive, you know? There's a lot of incidental life gain that's pretty decent. You can play True Silver Champion. You can play the 3-mana 2/5 that we were talking about earlier, but it's unlikely you'd run that card. I think Wicker Flame Burn Bristles rotating out, unfortunately, but I think it'd be one of the easier ways to do it. Chillblade Champion is probably not good enough, but maybe it is. And the point is, just even if you couldn't bring the Divine Shield back, this card would be pretty solid. And when you do play a True Silver Champion and just free roll an extra Divine Shield sometimes, that's just going to win you the game. So I actually think Glass Knight is a pretty good minion. Thank you. Even though the effect doesn't feel too legendary. All right, and then we got Prince Liam, Battlecry, transform all 1-cost cards in your deck into legendary minions. Neat. I've never seen this card before. Okay, so in a control deck, you wouldn't really want this, because there's not a lot of 1-cost cards you just want to naturally play. Then an aggro deck with a really low curve, Prince Liam could be pretty interesting, because you play him on turn 5 to round out your curve, and you've had a better curve than your opponent because you've played all this early game stuff. And now, all of a sudden, you're drawing a legendary once in a while, so you can sort of keep up in the late game with a control deck in some scenarios. Personally, I think I would rather just have a Cobalt Scalebane. I think for this card to really be good, I would need so many 1-cost cards already that I'm a pretty aggressive deck. And if I'm an aggressive deck, I'd rather just get my extra stats off of Scalebane up front, rather than maybe drawing a legendary in the next couple draw steps, and then hoping that that legendary is good, and then hoping that that legendary is a better play than the other things in my hand. I have a really hard time seeing this card being better than Cobalt Scalebane, so yeah, it's a cool card. I'll say it is cool. It's just hot garbage. All right, Divine Hymn. Restore 2 health to all friendly characters. It's kind of neat. If you combine this with Embrace the Shadow or Akanai, it could be a bit cooler of a way to concede. Every expansion that comes out has a new like priest healing card. That's like priest thing. We heal and stuff. This one's a little different than the ones we've seen before, but at the end of the day, like, you know, it's another healing thingy. Like a card like Greater Healing Potion will see play, right? Because it just heals for so damn much, and a card like Circle of Healing will see play because it costs 0 and it's broken. Divine Hymn, when you're paying like 2 mana for an effect like this, it just seems a little bit mediocre to me, so I don't expect this card to see too much play. OP in Arena? I don't think this card's OP in Arena. Not at all. Squashling Echo, Battlecry, restore 2 health. Neat. So you can restore 2 health to anything. That's kind of cute, I guess. Poof. Yeah, I mean, Voodoo Doctor is a pretty bad card, and when you're paying double for Voodoo Doctor, just so that you can pay double multiple times, I don't think that makes it good enough. It does have some flexibility. If you have an Akanai out, you could do some cool stuff with it, but I don't think that this card's efficient enough to justify playing. The thing about Hearthstone is there's just really, really broken stuff in Knights of the Frozen Throne. Like, really broken stuff. And when I look at cards like this, and I look at cards like Jaina and Gul'dan, like, why? Why would I play Pumpkin Bro over, like, cards that win the game, you know? Oh my god. Oh my god, Blizzard, I swear to God. Blizzard, I swear to God. Hold up, boys, hold up. Leaked? Yeah, maybe. Alright, here he is, here he is. You guys seeing this shit? Okay, here's Arcanite Elder. Here's Quartz Elemental. Man, they had to make him purple and everything too. Blue background. The floaty Rayman limbs and stuff. I'm pretty salty about this, to be honest. Oh well. Not similar at all. I mean, whatever. All right, so Quartz Elemental cannot attack while damaged. This guy doesn't have Taunt, which means, you know, you do need to have him be topped off in order to swing. But this card is surprisingly stronger than it looks. Do you guys think mine looks better? I think their artwork looks better. It's more like detailed, but eh. Anyway, what was I going to say about this? Yeah, so Quartz Elemental. Can't attack while damaged. So a 5-mana 5/8 with the Elemental tag is actually pretty damn good as far as stats. It's like really strong. In order for your opponent to stop this thing from attacking, they actually have to throw a minion away into it. So it's kind of getting value when they're trying to stop it from attacking anyway. So I actually see Quartz Elemental as a card that might see a ton of play. This card is huge for 5 mana. This card is so damn big. I would not be too surprised to see Quartz Elemental see a ton of play. Of course, that would, you know, it would have to be like probably an Elemental Priest deck, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be Elemental-y, but, you know, it would have to be like one of the Radiant Elemental type of, you know, Inner Fire Divine Spirit decks maybe. Quartz Elemental is, like, good, though. He's just so big, you know, and if you're playing, like, a bunch of Spellbreakers, you could just silence your own guy as well, get some value that way. So I wouldn't be too surprised if this guy actually sees some play. And I'm pretty sure, is Ungoro rotating out, or is it sticking around? Because if Ungoro is sticking around, then Humongous Razor Leaf. This guy could fit in the Razor Leaf deck, potentially. Yeah, Purify's rotating, though. Damn. Operative is 10 times better, question mark. Thank you, Ackner, for your invaluable input. That's my favorite part of set reviews, is that when I try to talk about how good or bad one card is, there's some dipshit that's like, but it's worse than this card. It's like the least intelligent way of looking at anything in life ever. Like, You go ahead and play your 30 operative deck, okay? And I will play within the rules of the game with cards that are in standard. And if I want to play additional 5 drops on top of operative and wild or something, I will. Okay, anyway, so got Holy Water, deal 4 damage to a minion. If that kills it, add a copy of it to your hand. This card's pretty cool. We haven't really seen a card like this before. So it's pretty much, 5 mana, deal 4, draw a card. The best comparison I can think of is Hammer of Wrath. And when I think about Hammer of Wrath being a 4 mana, deal 3, draw a card, I know that card didn't see play, and I think adding 1 mana and 1 damage is still pretty bad, to be honest. I think that adding a copy of whatever you're killing is roughly as good as drawing a card. Drawing cards is just so good, right? You get a card that you guarantee is good because you put it in your deck. The minion that you kill won't always be something that you want. And drawing a card is so sick because, even if you draw a card that's bad, you're still getting 1 card closer to the cards that are good in your deck. So, comparing it to Hammer of Wrath, I think this card is just worse. And Hammer of Wrath never really saw much play, so I would say that this card's bad. It is cool though. I think it's a fun card. It's a cool mechanic. I'm just going by the numbers on that one. I think the numbers just aren't good. We got Coffin Crasher, Death Rattle. Summon a Death Rattle minion from your hand. Oh boy. I've been booted for inactivity. All right. Let's bust out the collection, boys. Let's see what the Death Rattles we can go with are. There's the Obsidian Statue. I know that. You can get that guy out. Which, that's not bad, right? You're paying 6 mana for a 6/5. You have to pull it from your hand? That's so tough. That could be way stronger than like a Carrion Bloodhoof, though. If you're pulling Statue consistently, that's kind of nuts. It's actually kind of nuts sometimes. Let's see what other cards there are. If there's enough Death Rattles that are consistent, then this card might have some potential for sure. So we got Statue. I guess we have, you have Awaken the Makers still. Going into neutrals, if we go to like the expensive ones. Which one of these would you want to play just like on their own, Silver Vanguard, I guess, isn't bad. Wait, how much does Statue cost to hardcast? Is it 9? It costs 9. So you could play Vanguard into Lich King, potentially. You still have Carrion Bloodhoof. Corrupted Healbots. I think he's rotating. Yeah, Corrupted Healbot's rotating. Never mind. I was playing a combo deck with this guy, which is kind of fun, actually. Bone Drake, I don't think will make the cut. Oh, yeah. Sir Cubington. So Carnivorous Cube is a pretty damn good card. And, outside of Warlock, could still be kind of powerful. So if you're playing your corpse guy, and he's a 6/5, and he's pulling out a 4/6, that's already better than Carrion Bloodhoof. So I don't know, that's not bad, to be honest. I could see this guy seeing some play. Bomb Squad Poggers, yeah. I think Coffin Crasher, my guess is it won't be competitive, but there's a world where you play a deck that just tries to get a bunch of statues out and resurrect them and stuff. So, maybe in that deck. But I think unlikely for it to see play. All right, Nightscale Matriarch. 7 mana, 4/9. Whenever a friendly minion is healed, summon a 3/3 whelp. So the stats on this card are excellent. For a 7 mana card to have 9 health is pretty huge. This thing's really hard to kill. It's just so damn big. Healing friendly minions is something you can do every single turn, especially because it's got that ass. So if it lives a turn, You trade into stuff, and then you heal itself. This could be pretty strong, to be honest. Just a good card. I think with the Operative rotating out, it's definitely going to kind of take Dragon Priest with it, but we are getting some new Dragon tools that might see a little bit of play. I think it's not a bad card, though. I could see this seeing some play. My main issue is, when we talk about Standard, it's not just about, like, hey, what deck plays the most pretty good cards? It doesn't really work that way, right? There's always a couple elements in Standard that just warp the entire format around it. So for a long time, it was like early game stuff, like Tunnel Trog Totem Golem, or Patches, or Yogg-Saron, or cards like N'Zoth that just could warp entire archetypes around them. So now it's going to be Death Knights. It's going to be the Death Knight meta, and it already is the Death Knight meta, right? It's the Jaina decks, it's the Gul'dan decks. They just beat everything in the long game. So those decks know they're going to win the late game, so all they do is play stuff to slow the game down. So for a card like Nightscale Matriarch to see play, like, if I'm playing Q-Block, or if I'm playing, Control Mage, or if I'm playing, like, Ultimate Infestation Druid, or, like, Summoner Pact Druid, whatever, the 6-mana Summoner guy, the spellless Druid deck. If I'm playing any of those decks, I'm not going to give a fuck about a 7-mana 4/9. Because it's just not going to kill me. It doesn't go over the top of what I'm doing, and it doesn't go under what I'm doing by being really fast. So Nightscale Matriarch is just one of those decent cards that's in this weird spot where I think the meta is just going to prey on stuff like this. Even though it's just a decent, powerful card in a vacuum, I just don't see this ever going in a high-tier deck. Just because the way the meta will shake out, being so, like, Death Knight-centric. So we got Vivid Nightmare, choose a friendly minion, summon a copy of it with 1 health remaining. This could be kind of cool. A copy of it with 1 health remaining is, I don't know, they always print these clone-y cards, and it's always hard to pinpoint exactly how they would be used. But in the case of Vivid Nightmare, it's actually putting the dude into play, right? It's not one of the crappy warrior ones that just, like, conditionally copies it, like Blood Warrior or Sudden Genesis. Vivid Nightmare, it's 3 mana, and your thing's in play, period. That's a big deal. That means you get your Obsidian Statue trigger right away. That means you get your, your Charge trigger, you get your Lich King card. They still have to deal with the copy that's in play, so they're going to have to use 2 mana on that. You can play this card with Carnivorous Cube, which is a card that you can pull off of your Corpse Duder, right? And you can use this on your Corpse guy. So there's a lot of synergies that work with this. Whether it'll fit into one of those decks, it's impossible to say right now, but I will say this is one of the more powerful clone effects that they made, and I definitely think this card is stronger than Blood Warrior or Sudden Genesis. I mean, Blood Warrior was around with Arcane Giant at the same time, and it still wasn't good enough. So, yeah, Vivid Nightmare could see a lot of play. Glittermoth, your deck has only odd cost cards, double the health of your other minions. Okay, so you have to be playing the all odd deck, and you have to have board control at this point. But if you do, the payoff is huge. It's powerful. Like I said with the Reindeer card in Druid, it just is impossible to say whether these cards are good or bad until we actually can play with these cards tomorrow and actually put them in decks and see how they stack up. But for now, it's another one of those cards where if you're playing the odd cost priest deck, of course you auto include this. If you're not playing the odd cost priest deck, you obviously don't play it. Not too many deck building decisions here. It's possible that there's an odd cost priest deck that only has that doesn't play that many early game minions, and it doesn't even care about doubling health. So maybe there's some odd priest decks that don't even want Glittermoth, but for the most part, I'm going to assume it's an auto include in those. And then you got Chameleos, which a lot of people were excited for. The whole information game and knowing about what's in your opponent's hand definitely has some value. So personally, I think this card is bad. I think it's really cool. I think it's almost there, but I think it's really bad. I think it's really bad for a few reasons. So, first of all, when you draw this card in the mid-game, it's like turn 3 and you draw Chameleos, it doesn't transform right away. You have to wait till the next turn to see the first card. So that means the second you draw it, you have a dead card for one turn. You have one less option. That alone is going to lose you the game some percentage of the time. That's a big deal. When you have it in your opening hand, right, when you're in mulligans, do you keep this card or not? Depends on the class you're playing against, probably. But let's say you do keep it, right? So you're maximizing Chameleos value. You're seeing more cards in your opponent's hand. Maybe you'll play it, one of it. Maybe you're really lucky and you snipe like a Wild Growth early on or something like that. You know, in that scenario, the Wild Growth crap aside, if you're trying to hold on to it and look at a bunch of cards in your opponent's hand, you get information which has some value, but you lose a card. Like, you literally have one less option in your hand the entire game while this thing rots in your hand. So that's like a really big drawback, you know? Is the intangible value of the information worth more than the tangible value of a card? Usually not. Usually the card is just worth more. Usually just bigger numbers and more cards in hand is just better than information or options in Hearthstone. So I think, but you know, both in the scenario where you keep it in your opening hand early on, and in the scenario where you draw it in the mid game, I think this card's pretty mediocre. There's a card like I think it's called Forged Blade. It was the 1-mana weapon that transforms every turn. That card, if that card had the quest ability where it was in your opening hand every time, I think that card would be a tier 1 card. You'd play that in every warrior deck. But the Molten Blade, that's what it's called. But Molten Blade is bad because if you draw it in the mid game, it takes a while to get a non-shitty weapon. So Chameleos has that same mid-game drawing problem, but even, you know, unlike Molten Blade, if Molten Blade's in your opening hand, it's good. If this card's in your opening hand, I think it's still bad. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But it's cool. I like the mechanic. So we have Lady in White at 6. Battle Cry, cast Inner Fire on every minion in your deck. I have no idea what this does or why. There's probably some kind of synergy that you can use this with. I think there's no obvious things right now that make it kind of nutty. I think that if we go like health 5+, and you know, we just kind of do some flipping through. You know, inner firing stuff it gets the most value on cards like Street Trickster, you know, the things that are very low attack to begin with. But you want to be playing cards with that characteristic that aren't bad on their own, right? So you want to play like a low attack, high health minion that's good on its own. You don't want to play cards that are only good after that legendaries come down. So, you know, when I'm like flipping through this, I'm really not seeing a lot, at least you know, in the neutral department. When we go to Priest, more specifically, we got Lightwell, okay. But again, Lightwell, it's not a good card on its own, right? So like, you don't want to play bad cards to make your bad cards good. It's always a bad strategy in card games. Okay, we've got some 2/6s and stuff that we can buff up. It's not bad. I think Shell Razor's not a bad card on its own. But yeah, you know what I mean? There's just, there isn't really a card for it yet. You know, down the line, if that changes, if Blizzard prints something with a huge ass and not a lot of attack, then like, we'll just play that card, right? But yeah, as of right now, I just don't think Lady in White has a home. That's the issue with it. It's a cool mechanic, though. I like that they're exploring that kind of design space. It's just cool that their game engine can do that. I think it's pretty cool. All right, so we got Cheap Shot. Echo, deal 2 damage to minion. It's a very interesting card. People were pretty excited when this came out. It is super inefficient, for sure. But the interesting thing about Cheap Shot is that it's an even card, and if you play the if you play the even cost stuff deck, Rogue is one of those classes that could be very good at doing it. So Cheap Shot, you know, starts to look pretty good in that world, where you go turn 1 dagger, turn 2, you can Cheap Shot, you play or whatever 2-drop, but like on turn 4 you double kill a thing, or on turn 6 you wipe the board. This can all of a sudden be pretty flexible in an archetype like that. You know, you're combining it with this dagger that you start with turn 1 of every single game, which is crazy. Like, turn 1 dagger is just so busted. It's better than N'Zoth's First Mate by a lot, because you're up a card when you do that. So I think, you know, because the even rogue deck is a thing, this might see a decent amount of play. Is this card strong? Not really. In a vacuum, it's like okay. Usually okay cards don't end up making the cut, and it's possible that, you know, Cheap Shot won't end up making the cut either when all's said and done. But, you know, in the meantime, we're going to try it, you know. We're going to play with it, and we'll kind of figure out how to value this Echo mechanic. It is a very new mechanic to the game. Cards haven't really had this ability before, and the only one of them that they've really printed, which is Unstable Mutation, is actually pretty damn good, to be honest. So, you know, maybe this is a mechanic that we're kind of undervaluing. I don't know. But, yeah, I think this card is just kind of average overall. I think it might see play in the even cost rogue deck. I think like a spell damage or a Miracle Rogue deck might play it. It's good with Blood Mage. I like that. Yeah, it's just one of those flexible spell things that we're going to put in a bunch of different decks and just see if it has a home somewhere. It's a pretty generic effect, so it's not really limited to certain archetypes, like most of these cards are. Blink Fox, Battlecry, add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class. So this card is sweet. It's not as good as Curious Glimmerroot. Curious Glimmerroot, you're going to get the card off that like 99% of the time anyway. So the random, like, the fact that this guarantees you getting a card is not a big deal. They both pretty much guarantee you getting a card. Curious Glimmerroot is my biggest comparison for this, because it's 3 mana, 3/3, draw something decent. The thing about Curious Glimmerroot is that the card that it gives you is much, much better, because you're getting a card that somebody put in their deck on purpose. Blink Fox gets you Totemic Might. That's a lot shittier, right? So I think we're probably not going to see Blink Fox get played too much. But, I'm like zoning out. I think Blink Fox is still competitive. I still think it's a competitive card, and I still think it can be very powerful. But I think it is stronger than Curious. I think it's weaker than Curious Glimmerroot by a lot. Jet lagged and sleep deprived. So even though it's worse than Curious Glimmerroot, it's still good enough, and it's close enough. And it's in a class that hasn't had access to a 3 mana, 3/3 draw card before. So the only thing I don't like about Blink Fox is that I can't play it in the even cost rogue deck. So, you know, that aside, it is powerful. And, you know, I wouldn't be too surprised if this is close to an auto-include in a lot of rogue decks just for a while. Not because it's broken, but just because, like, it's not SI Agent power level, but it's, like, still pretty good. It's still a 3 mana, 3/3 with upside. Getting value is just so sick. Okay, combo, give your weapon +1 attack. Cutthroat Buccaneer. Yeah, you know, a 3 mana 2/4 is pretty bad stats, and comboing it is going to require, you know, either like a 0 mana card like a Backstab if you're trying to do it early, or it's going to require having a ton of mana, and then, you know, later in the game playing a 2/4, giving your weapon 1 attack. It's not a huge deal. It's possible that there's a Kingsbane archetype that just wants to play every possible weapon buff no matter what, especially because we're losing Squidward from Whispers, and then we're losing... Are we losing Corsair? Or are we keeping Corsair? I don't remember. Yeah, either way, Kingsbane deck might want more weapon buffs in case they'd play this guy just for that card. But in and of itself, it's pretty weak in a vacuum. And outside of a Kingsbane deck, I don't think it should see much play. All right, Pickpocket Echo, add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class. This card is hot steaming garbage. Ugh. Mist Wraith, whenever you play an Echo card, gain 1/1. So this is kind of cool. The stats to begin with are, you know, average. And it has the opportunity to get pretty out of hand pretty quickly. The question becomes how many good Echo cards there are to play. Not this one. Okay, cheap shot's decent, but is that pretty much it? Is there more Echo? You can steal Echo cards from other classes, but if the only ones that you can play yourself easily are, okay, there's this guy who's a legendary. Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing a quick scroll through. So there's like 2 rogue cards you would play, right? You'd play the Collector and you'd play the cheap shot, and that's about it. So if you have 3 cards in your 30-card deck that buff this, that's probably not good enough. And this card isn't broken enough in and of itself to make you want to play another bad card on top of it. So, in my opinion, this just doesn't cut it. But it is powerful. It's just the Echo cards aren't there to support it. Cursed Castaway, Rush, Battle, or Death Rattle, draw a combo card from your deck. Okay. 6 mana, 5/3 Rush, huh? A lot of these Rush cards are basically spells the way that they're designed, because it's a lot of high attack, low health ones. And the most powerful kind of Rush card is one that smacks something and then sticks around for a while. Cursed Castaway is not really going to be doing that, right? On turn 6, the minions are pretty big at that point. This is just going to straight up trade into something. So it's basically like playing Holy Fire on a minion and then drawing a card instead of gaining some life. Is that good enough? Usually not. It's pretty reactive. Probably not making the cut. I think cards like this are a lot more interesting when they're like a 3/6 instead of like a 5/3, something like that. But yeah, for the most part, treat this like a spell. The extra health on this or the 3 health on it's not going to be too big of a deal most of the time. Sometimes you can run it into like a 2 attack guy, and then they have to hero power it or something. But yeah, for the most part, I don't expect Cursed Castaway to be a big deal at all. Yeah, it's a Starfire that can't go face, exactly. It does draw from your deck, though, which is a big deal. And it draws you a good card from your deck. This card draws you like Vile Spine or Eviscerate or SI Agent. It's pretty strong. The combo cards, at least. All right, so Spectral Cutlass, Lifesteal. When you play a card from another class, gain 1 durability. So this can be like a way to pop off with this garbage Echo card. There's a Pickpocket. The fact that you have to play the card from the other class is such a massive drawback. That means you have to roll a card from the other class that's playable, like no Totemic Mites, no garbage. Then you already have this handful of cards. You have like 5 cards. And then you have your randomly generated trash, right? And randomly generated trash has to be a better play than all these other cards to warrant running it out. Now, if these other cards are garbage like Spectral Cutlass, then pretty much any random card is going to be better. But for most rogue decks, like just playing good stuff is going to be a better play than whatever you happen to randomly roll. So, the fact that it's making you make suboptimal plays before the weapon even gets decent is a pretty big drawback, I feel like. Lifesteal on a weapon is insane, but the stats on this are balanced, unfortunately. I think if it had 1 more number on either attack or health, it would be a different story, but it doesn't, so. Wanted, deal 3 damage to a minion. If that kills it, add a coin to your hand. What a sweet card. This is the kind of card Miracle Rogue wanted for a long, long time. And we're still going to have Gadgetzan Auctioneer. They didn't rotate him out. So I love Miracle decks. I don't know. Anything that generates coins and isn't complete crap is going to see play in something. One interesting thing about Miracle Rogue is that when it comes to preparation, the only spell that gave you full preparation value was Fan of Knives. But once you have Wanted, now you have 4 cards in your deck that let you cost reduced by 3 with prep. So your preparations kind of become higher value with this, and that could matter. Yeah, overall, you definitely play this in the Gadgetzan Auctioneer deck, and whatever deck it goes in, it'll be pretty fun. Yeah, you don't want to play it in like fair rogue decks, though. This is purely for the combo ones, I would say. Face Collector, Echo, Battlecry, and a random legendary minion to your hand. A 3 mana 2/2 draws a random card. It's not great. It's okay. Getting a random legendary, first of all, it's worse than drawing a card. It's if you compare this to like the text of Novice Engineer, it's worse. So then the question becomes, would you play a 3-mana 2/2 that draws you a card from your deck? And the answer is usually no. The closest thing we've seen is like the Paladin guy that draws a bubble creature, or like Cabal Courier is a very different story than this. It's a very different story. Cabal Courier is nuts. This card's not. Random legendaries just aren't that good. You just don't want like random dudes. Maybe if it was impossible to get random legendaries from this expansion, this card would be a lot better. But they're introducing like 15 garbage legendaries on top of the bad ones that existed before. So I really don't see this being that strong. It's not an awful card. Like, it's okay. If you're playing the Echo Synergy guy, you'll run this. But yeah, in order to get a lot of value out of it, and you're playing it for what, 6 mana, 9 mana, that's not a great feeling. So I would be really surprised if Face Collector saw too much play. It's a cool card. It's a flavorful card, but random legendaries just that's worse than drawing a card. And a 3-mana 2/2 that draws a card is not good. Even at 6 mana and 9 mana, I'm unimpressed. Tess Greymane, Battlecry, replay every card from another class. We've played this game. Targets chosen randomly. Well, shit. Why didn't they put this on top of the spoiler? Oh, time to go back. God damn it. Okay, doesn't matter for this. Okay, Blink Fox. All of a sudden, this card looks way better. Way better. And that card already looked good. Blink Fox already looked good. And Pickpocket. Add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class. So for 4 mana, I get 2 of them, and then I have to spend the mana to play them. Pickpocket is just such a terrible Hearthstone card. Like even in the test deck, I just don't want to play it. I wonder if there's enough random generation from other classes without it. This legendary is super powerful. Replay every card from another class you played this game. That's nuts. That's absolutely insane. It's like a Yogg-Saron, but you know what you're getting. So it lets you time it pretty well. And I mean, the stats on it are great. This card's very, very powerful. The question becomes, what tools are going to be around still? Because this guy's rotating out. That's One Night in Karazhan, right? This is rotating out because it's Whispers. Shaku's rotating out because it's Mean Streets. This is rotating out. Lillian's staying, but she doesn't even give you those things. Oh, no, hold on. Replace spells in your hand with random spells from your opponent's class. Okay, so Lillian could actually be pretty good for this. Interesting. And then, of course, you have Lich King and you have Arthas, which give you Death Knight cards, which I'm pretty sure count as alternate class cards. So you would play Arthas in the deck for sure. Replaying the Death Knight cards would be nutty. And you go Lich King as well. Huh. Okay, I mean, maybe. That's not... Replay every card from another class you play this game. Targets chosen randomly. That could be decent. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in the world. Yeah, I think just the fact that this replays Death Knight cards is a massive deal. A massive deal. This could be very competitive, potentially. I don't think it's going to be powerful enough to go over the top of things like Q-Block, but it is a card that's just so nuts at what it does that, I wouldn't be too surprised if the archetype built around Tess could be pretty competitive. Wait, Hallucination is staying? Hold on. What set is this? Oh, that's Journey. We keep Hallucination. That's such a big deal. Holy crap. Hallucination's like the best one because you actually get to decide what you're getting, which means that you can avoid picking things that are bad with random targeting. So you only get the things that are good no matter what they target. That's a big deal. Yeah, the test deck might be pretty good, to be honest. Might be pretty good. We'll see. It'll be fun as hell, at least. I don't know. All right, Zap. Deal 2 damage to a minion. Overload 1. Interesting. That's a really interesting card. This is so powerful with Unbound Elemental. So powerful with Unbound. Every playable Overload card that comes out makes Snow Fury Giant and the Spellstone a little bit stronger. So that's worth keeping in mind too. But yeah, you know, outside of some sort of tempo-oriented Shaman deck, I'm not seeing an easy fit for this card. I think that this card's cool. This card's really cool. I don't know. I like it. I like this card, but I'm not saying it's going to be broken or played a lot. We'll see what Shaman looks like after this. It is even, so you can play it in the even deck, right? That's kind of cool. I don't know. I like Zap. It's 0 mana and it does things. It's so much worse than Backstab, but Backstab is so broken. But it's so much worse than Backstab. Because you don't have Dagger, you can't kill 3 health minions with this. You're really limited in the things you can target with it. Yeah, I think if you're not playing Unbound Elemental or Tunnel Trog type of stuff in Wild, it's probably not good enough. Witch's Apprentice, Taunt about... Oh, actually, one more thing. This is good with, like, Violet Teacher and the Totem Violet Teacher, things like that. Any 0-cost spells that just do good stuff, you know, together with... Or, like, Auctioneer. Together with cards like that are pretty strong. All right, Witch's Apprentice, Taunt, Battlecry. Add a random Shaman spell to your hand. Sweet! My totems will be very mighty, thanks to Witch's Apprentice. This card is like Babbling Book, except it adds worse cards to your hand. And the body is, I would say the body is worse on average. I think a 1/1 is worse than a 0/1 Taunt, but they're comparable. Yeah, we'll see if this is good enough to see play. It is a beast, which is kind of interesting. We'll see if that ever comes up. Yeah. Yeah, I think Witch's Apprentice is a card that will see play in something, but I don't know what deck that'll be in. And I'm just saying that based off precedent. All the 1-mana guys that have drawn random cards have seen play so far, whether it's Babbling Book, whether it's Swash, Burglar. Yeah. All right, Ghostlight Angler, a 2/2 for 2 Murloc. It's got the right minion tag. The Echo on this card is actually pretty relevant. Making 2 Murlocs for 4 mana is decent. I think we're still going to have Gentle Megasaur, I want to say. It's a huge deal. This is not a bad Echo card. The thing is, a 2-mana 2/2 back in the day would not cut it. Those stats would be awful, like really awful. But you know, nowadays, the early game minions are a lot smaller than they used to be. So 2-mana 2/2 really isn't that bad. So even if you're not taking advantage of Echo, it's still a decent 2-mana play. And that's really where a mechanic like Echo can be broken, where at every cost, it's like a reasonable play. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this actually saw some play, but it's really going to depend on, you know, if the Murloc Shaman deck's playable. Because I don't think this is strong enough that you would just jam it in any Shaman deck. But maybe it is. It's pretty flexible. I think you only play it in the Murloc deck, to be honest. All right, Blazing Invocation. Oh, you can also play it in the Evens deck. In the Evens deck, it might be okay. All right, so Blazing Invocation. Discover a Battlecry minion. So you can't play this in the Even Shaman deck. Discovering Battlecry minions. So you're playing this in the combo bouncy stuff deck. The fact that it's Discover means that it's going to weight it towards Shaman minions. It's a big deal because it can get you those elementals that, you know, double up on battle cries, get you the Thunder Rumbler, or whatever the hell the 7-mana bouncy guy is. There's some sort of infinite combo involved with this. I don't know what it is, but if the pieces come together for that deck, this will be a core part of it, just to get you more of those combo pieces. I don't think you play this card just as like a fair value card, though. It's just not quite good enough. It's just like the Warrior card that got you a Taunt. When you're paying a mana to get a dude, it's just not worth it unless you're going for that combo deck, and the Shaman Battlecry minions are so likely to be one of those combo pieces for that elemental deck. All right. Well, guys, will you stop arguing about 0? It's not both odd and even. 0 is even. All right. Give a minion +2/+2. If it's an elemental, add a random elemental to your hand. Give a minion +2/+2. If it's an elemental, add a random elemental to your hand. So, the 2-mana 2/2 buffs are best taken advantage of in a very tempo-oriented deck. And very tempo-oriented decks don't usually play too many elementals. This card is very strong off of a Firefly on turn 1. But aside from that, you're not playing too many early game elementals in most lists. There is Arcane Anomaly, I guess, which could work with that 0-mana backstab card as well. So you could make some sort of all-in tempo shaman deck that could be kind of fun. But yeah, adding a random elemental is much, much worse than drawing a card, obviously, like with Market of Charge. I think this card might see play, but it would only be in the niche, like aggro shaman decks that take advantage of a lot of the early game stuff. I think that, yeah, if you're running this card in a more standard, like elemental shaman deck, it's more like mid-rangey and you have some late game tools, this might not make the cut, to be honest. So, yeah, it does fit in the all-even stuff deck, which is pretty cool. But yeah, overall, I would say this card's decent, but it's like one of those filler cards. It's not going to make or break an archetype. Whether Elemental Shaman is a good deck or not is not going to be influenced at all by Earth and Might, in my opinion. Yeah, Mudspark Eel. If your deck has only even cost cards, deal 2 damage. This card is nutty. Oh my god, so good. This is like the big payoff, right, for playing the all-even deck. This will get you board control against just about anything. This card will obliterate an aggro opener on its own. I don't know what aggro deck beats this card. Like, it's not like we have broken 1-drops like Tunnel Trog anymore. This kills everything that's not Mana Worm, and then continues killing stuff because it's a 2/3, which is like the most stats you can have on turn 2. This card's sick. Yeah, there's not much else to say about that. This is highly incentivizes you to play all evens shaman. And doesn't the all even deck mean you make your hero power cost 1? So you're toteming on 1 and on 3. That's so good. That's so good. Oh. Alright, Totem Cruncher, Taunt, Battlecry, destroy your totems, gain 2/2 for each destroyed. Card's trash. My totems are going to be mighty with all this random spell generation, so why would I want to destroy them? Bog Shaper, whenever you cast a spell, draw a minion from your deck. It's a big deal that this pulls them out of your deck because it gets you, whether you want minions or not, it's getting you closer to the cards you do want, you know? You're playing this card pretty late in the game, so you're probably going to have like a, 17, 15 card deck left, and then you're pulling minions out of that. The thinning can become relevant at that point just because of how late game it's happening. It's not like Patches thinning on turn 1, which barely matters. Late game thinning like this, where you can chain it, like you do like 2 or 3 spells in a turn, that could be a really big deal. So, yeah, drawing from your deck is just way better, way better than random card generation. I mean, with that said, it's a 7-mana 4/8 that doesn't affect the board the turn it comes down. So, who are you playing this against? Like Gul'dan decks, I guess, and then you're hoping that you draw into your minions, but you almost want minion generation against them because they're just gonna go infinite against you in a way. Like they're gonna be able to remove all your stuff anyway, and then try to fatigue you. Yeah, Bog Shaper's okay. It's definitely better than the 7-mana elemental that summons taunts, but it's definitely worse than Blaze Caller. So the question is just going to be, is it worth playing a 7-mana value guy just for those slow matchups? And I guess we'll find out. He's not a bad card, though. I mean, he's solid. Got Hagatha the Witch, excellent battle cry, excellent ability, excellent, yeah, just excellent passive. It's just such a good card. Hagatha is just straight up good. Whenever you play a minion, add a random shaman spell to your hand. It even gets you spells, which is just huge. It has synergy with stuff like Firefly, Igneous Elemental, which you might want to be playing anyway. This card is absolutely excellent. It fits into the even shaman deck. Death Knights are stupid busted, and this card is no exception. So, yeah. Excellent, excellent card. All right, Shudder Walk, Battle Cry. Repeat all other battle cries from cards you played. Why do they do this shit every... Okay. Okay, the battle cries. Oh no, Totem Cruncher is gonna crunch your totems when you repeat his battle cry. Okay, okay, Blazing Invocation gets a little bit better now that I know about the... Blazing Invocation gets better now that I know about the Legendary. So you play that card in the Legendary deck as well. Witch's Apprentice, very cool as well. You can't play him in the even deck, but you can play him with the Legendary. And then Zap is not a big deal, so... That's interesting. So you basically have to forfeit, you know, the benefit of having a cheaper hero power if you play Shudder Walk. And the question then becomes, how good is repeating battle cries? So, okay. You have the 2-mana elemental that doubles battle cries. So if you bounce that guy and cost reduce him. Okay, boys, we gotta do some research real quick. I have to figure out what these combo shaman cards actually do. So step 1 is, this guy's rotating out, right? No, he's staying. Oh my god, Harbinger's staying. Dude, is that a deck? This guy, okay, this is the guy right here. So your next battle cry this turn triggers twice. Okay, so what does the 7-mana guy do? I know he bounces them. 6 mana. Oh, he's 6 mana. Return your other minions to your hand. They cost 1. Grumble. Return your other minions to your hand. They cost 1. Okay, so you do this. So, I mean, the idea is to basically bounce your 2-mana guy with Grumble. And then together with Shudder Walk, you do this twice. But you need the battle cries to be nuts. Hagatha's going to wipe the board, which is actually kind of bad. This is kind of bad with Hagatha, because Hagatha's going to kill Shudder Walk. It's going to kill Grumble, and it's going to kill all your shit. But you get a bunch of spells off of the frog and stuff. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be good enough. I think you're going to be better off just playing the Evens deck, just because a 1-mana totem hero power is so stupid good. But the Shudder Walk deck could be pretty sweet, and the combo potential of the bouncy elemental stuff deck could be pretty cool. So it's really hard to evaluate combo decks until you play with them, because this is one of those combo decks that, it's not like an old one that we've already played with that's changing a few cards. It's a type of combo deck we haven't really seen on ladder yet. So it's hard to gauge the power level of that until you see it in action. Chain Gang, goddamn. Why are you guys saying Chain Gang all the time? Repeat all other battle cries from cards you played this game. Yeah, I know what Chain Gang does. I don't know why you guys are so excited about 2/3s. The new minion, deal 3 damage, heal 3. You guys fucking stop spamming Chain Gang? How long can this go on? Chain Gang summons another Shudder Walk. What does that even mean? Repeat all other battle cries from cards you played this game. Is that how it reads? Oh yeah, it says summon a copy of this minion. Okay, so Chain Gang gives you another 6/6. Okay, so you make a bunch of 6/6s. That's kind of cool, actually. It's a big deal. Okay. So he fills up your board with crap, and he draws you some cards. But only if you haven't played Hagatha yet. Maybe you don't even play Hagatha in this deck at all. Yeah, maybe that's good enough. I don't know. They just like play Twisting Nether and kill you. But I guess you get a Hex the Void Lords and stuff, so that's a big deal. Hex is pretty good. Yeah, it might be competitive. I don't know. Point is, this card's powerful as hell, and I have to think about it. It's definitely not bad. We'll just see how good the deck actually is, you know. That's all it really boils down to. I really like the Even Shaman deck as well. Just on paper, it looks so good with 1 mana hero power, so. All right. Chain Gang followed by Grumble's effect. Grumble puts the extra Shudderwalks into your hand so you can keep playing them for 1 mana. Wait, but what order does it do it in? Does it do it in a random order, or does it repeat in the same order? Because what if Grumble happens last? What if you make a big board and then Grumble fucks you? That's pretty bad. I don't know, man. Alright, anyway. Witchwood Imp, Stealth, Death Rattle. Give a random friendly minion +2 health. Wow, okay. We're trying to make some zoo cards once again. It's an interesting way to do the whole, 1 mana 1/3. This one has a bit of a delayed effect, gives you a bit of more control over how you're buffing your minions. This is very good with cards that buff your guy like Demon Fire. Not because you want to buff this guy, but because he gives extra health to the minion that you're buffing. So you can kind of go all in on one huge demon and have that be pretty good. So yeah, if Zoo's looking for more 1-drops, which it usually is, this guy could see a lot of play. Dusk Bat, if your hero took damage this turn, summon 2 1/1 bats. So you can't really do this on curve. Otherwise it would be insane in Zoo. So you're kind of having to do it on turn 4 if you're lucky enough to have a Kobold Librarian, or you have to do it like turn 5 with a Homunculus. Either way, I think, I don't want to call this unplayable. It might be good enough. It's really good with Sea Giant. It's a ton of stats. Even if you're forced to play it later, it could be strong. It depends on if there's more enablers that let you use this. Yeah, I definitely think that it's a shame you can't play it in the all-even deck. You could life tap and then do this. Yeah, that's interesting. We'll see. We'll see if it makes the cut in Zoo. Fiendish Circle, summon 4 1/1 imps. Well, this is just like Implosion, except I'll know what it feels like to get 4 minions out of it. I like this card a lot more than Implosion. During all of GVG, my opponents already played this card. It just did 4 damage as well, so this is just seems better for me and worse for them. So, is 4 mana worth it for 4 1/1 imps? Probably not. I think Forbidden Ritual was a pretty good card, to be honest. And even that card wasn't like broken in Zoo or anything. Most lists didn't even play it. This is just like Forbidden Ritual, but less flexible. So, yeah. I don't think it'll see too much play, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm almost certain there'll be better 4 mana plays. Dark Possession, deal 2 damage to a friendly character, discover a demon. That's kind of neat. So this is good for triggering things like the Bat. The problem is you only want to play Dusk Bat in a Zoo deck, and if you're playing a Zoo deck, then Dark Possession is going to kill your own minion. You don't care about dealing damage to your own face. You have to deal damage to a minion. I'm assuming it's at random, but if it lets you target yourself, this could actually be pretty good. Well, I don't know about good, but it's better if you get to pick what takes damage. Overall, yeah, just 1 mana to discover a demon doesn't seem that good to me, so I would be surprised if this makes the cut in any deck, but it's an interesting mechanic. Curse of Weakness, Echo, give all enemy minions -2 attack until your next turn. Huh. Interesting. Warlock has plenty of AoE. It has Defile. It's getting a new AoE here. It has Hellfire. You know, Twisting Nether. Warlock doesn't really struggle against multiple minions being in play, which is what this card is good against. This card's not effective against like one big dude. Warlock needs more answers to one big dude. Well, it has Siphon and Amulet right now. You know the honest truth about Curse of Weakness? It's a unique effect. It's like a freeze effect like Frost Nova, and historically those have seen a ton of play. But Warlock right now is just so damn broken that, like, in order for a card to fit into a Warlock deck, it has to be, like, stupid powerful. Just stupidly powerful. This card is not stupidly powerful. It's not, like, broken enough to make the cut, I think. Just because of how good Warlock is right now. Blood Witch, at the start of your turn, deal 1 damage to your hero. Yeah, I think the synergies that you get off of this, just there aren't enough of them yet to warrant playing vanilla statted cards, just for the sake of enabling the pain cards. 3 mana 2/2. Oh, what happened? What just happened? No, we're good. Why is Imager the worst website ever made? Like, I remember when this website was good, and now they just have the worst app ever. And the website sucks. Why does the right arrow do anything? Jesus Christ. Okay, I think we're getting there. Alright guys, getting back to it. Almost there. So we just did Shaman, and now we're on to the Warlock cards. So, alright, Ratcatcher, Rush, Battlecry. Destroy a friendly minion and gain its attack and health. Cool. It's like the Void Eater guy. I already forgot the name of it. Void Terror. It's like Void Terror, but it has Rush and smaller stats. That's pretty cool, actually. That could be worth it in a lot of decks. The truth is, Void Terror used to be a pretty strong card in a lot of lists, but that was purely because of Power Overwhelming. And now that Power Overwhelming's in Wild, cards like this just aren't that effective. If you have stats in play, you just don't want to redistribute them anymore. You want to just add on to them, you know? So I don't think Ratcatcher is going to make the cut, but it is a neat card, and if there's a minion of yours that you really want to kill that they print at some point in time, it could be strong. So if your hero took damage this turn, gain lifesteal. That's pretty sweet, actually. The stats on this aren't too bad. Gaining lifesteal is huge on a minion like this. If you're activating it using life tap, then you know, you're only netting 2 life, but you're also getting that life tap for free, technically. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I think Deathweb Spider probably is not going to make the cut. I think when it comes to healing cards, you definitely want burst healing, because that's going to help you not get burned out. But yeah, I think that aside, I'm just going to move on. This card's just not strong enough, most likely, to make the cut. If they print like 5 more cards with synergies like this, though, all the pain effects could be pretty worth it. All right, minions in your hand have Echo. So this card could be kind of nuts, actually. The thing about Echo is, like, they keep putting this ability onto really balanced cards that always cost 2 mana and stuff like that. But with Glinda, if you can make your minion cost 0, it can be pretty broken. So if you do this with any of the giants, that could be disgustingly powerful. So I think like Sea Giant is an excellent example. It's probably like the best one. Mountain Giant could do crazy stuff. Mostly Sea Giant. Right? Mountain Giant's always going to cost 3. You definitely want Sea Giant. Minions in your hand have Echo. The thing about Glinda is you want to play the 0-cost Giants the same turn that you play Glinda. Yeah, there's even like smaller synergies with this. You could do like Happy Ghoul or just anything that costs 0 really, but it's at its most broken with Sea Giant, and that's just a 2-card combo in a deck that can already draw a bunch of cards. And it's not like you're playing bad cards to do that. I mean, Sea Giant's a pretty good card. Yeah, the interesting thing about Warlock mirrors is right now they're very attrition based. It's all about Gul'dan. It's all about twisting others and stuff. But in Wild, there's multiple Q block archetypes, and the one that plays Naga Sea Witch, which is like for those guys that don't know, it's like a 5-mana minion that makes your giants cost 0 mana. That kind of deck can just put a ton of giants into play on turn 5 and just kill the opponent. So if Glinda allows you to do that in the Warlock mirror, that could be a big deal. But I just have a hard time seeing it. You need to have a bunch of minions in play by turn 6. Realistically, if you ever make a board full of 1 million giants, they're going to have twisting nether mana. So I don't think this is that good in the Warlock mirror. And against aggro, it's not that good. So it might just be the kind of card that just doesn't really have a home. Because you don't really need this kind of effect in the matchups that you're going to be playing. But, yeah. I'm going to move on, though. It's a cool card. People are going to find some way to make it broken, but I guarantee you it will involve 0-cost minions the turn that you play her. That's the goal. Lord Godfrey, Battlecry. Deal 2 damage to all their minions. If any die, repeat this Battlecry. No conditions on this card. You just play it and it does its thing. This card is insane. This is one of the best board clears in the game, period. This might be better than Psychic Scream. It probably is better than Psychic Scream. Lord Godfrey is nuts. I love the art on this card. I think it's just an excellent card, period. I think it's just auto-include in any defensive Warlock deck all the time. It's like Defile, but you don't have to do math, which I love because I'm lazy. Yeah, just play him. That's a 10 out of 10 card. I'm surprised there isn't some condition, like it has to be all odd or something. It would be too much text, I guess. All right, so we got Warpath. I think this might be the best Echo card in the expansion. Warpath is nuts. This card is so good for any defensive warrior deck. Getting a 10 mana deal 5 is good. 8 mana deal 4. 6 mana deal 3. Just whirlwinding for 2. This card is so flexible. It's so good. Like the type of archetype it fits into, like the defensive warrior deck, is exactly the kind of deck that wants access to the flexibility of Echo. Because it's going to be a slow game, you're going to get that mana. I think Warpath is excellent, and I think it'll see a lot of play in Defensive Warrior. As long as Defensive Warrior is a deck, you're going to see a lot of Warpath. Woodcutter's Axe, Death Rattle, deal give 2/1 to random friendly rush minion. I thought it gave the random friendly minion rush as well. Yeah, this card is probably not going to make the cut, that's for sure. The last thing that rush minions need is more attack. I don't know why I want to give my 2 health minion more, like 1 more health and more attack. I wish it buffed the health. It's not an awful card. I don't know. Really, whether it's playable is just going to be dependent on how many rush minions are playable. But from what I've seen, that amount's not too crazy. A 2-mana 2/2 weapon has to have a pretty significant upside to be worth it. Jade Claw's broken, Fiery War Axe is broken. This card doesn't seem great. Again, like I've been mentioning this a lot in my set review, but my cardinal rule for synergy-based cards is that if it requires me to play bad cards in my deck in order to make the card good, it's a bad card. So if Woodcutter's Axe requires me to play bad rush minions to make this good, then it's going to be bad. But if the rush minions are already broken on their own, then Woodcutter's Axe is excellent. So let's take a look and see what other rush minions there are. 3 mana 3/3. Pretty interesting. I think this is like pretty good, to be honest. 3 mana 3/3 seems sick. This card would be nuts against aggro. Kor'kron Elite value trades all the time anyway. I think Rabid Worgen is a pretty good card. Now, is it good enough that you play it on its own and control and stuff? I mean, shit, maybe. I know against aggro this is nuts. But it's not broken. I mean, it's not like auto-include and everything. This is a card that you can compare it to like SI Agent. You have the upside of not needing to combo, which is a big deal. But you have that downside of taking damage when you trade up with it. So it's not bad though. If Wolf Rider can see play, so can Rabid Worgen, that's for sure. Red Band Wasp Rush has 3 attack while damaged. So You need to kill like a 1 health minion with this for it to be worth it. If you're just bumping into a River Crocolisk and you're not killing the minion that you attack, it's awful, right? Because they just trade back. This kind of card, you know, if you have the Woodcutter's Axe, all of a sudden it's pretty decent, but if you don't have Woodcutter's Axe lined up for it, this card's just bad on its own. So I think Red Band Wasp is pretty trash. I think Worgen's pretty good, but I don't think this card's very strong at all, so we got 1 good rush so far. All right, Militia Commander, Rush, gain 3 attack this turn. This card seems crazy good to me, like crazy good. You get a 5/5 the turn that you play it for 4, and you get a swing into. That's a pretty good rush minion. That together with Rabid Worgen, now all of a sudden Woodcutter's Axe starting to look pretty good. If there's one more good rush minion that wasn't legendary, all of a sudden we have a decent mid-range deck brewing. At the end of the day, Rush is a very fair mechanic though, and you know, in a world of Gul'dans and Jaina's, I don't know if fair cards are good enough anymore, but Militia Commander is pretty strong if people are playing good, wholesome Hearthstone with minion trading and battle rages and stuff. All right, Fester Root Hulk. After a friendly minion attacks, gain 1 attack. Interesting. I think this card's pretty awful. We've literally had a 5-mana 8/8 with negligible drawback multiple times. Right, we had Fel Reaver, we had Bittertide Hydra. This card is so far off from being nearly as good as them that I don't think it's even worth discussing. Town Cry or Battle Cry, draw a rush minion from your deck. Wow, that's so good. Holy crap. Okay, maybe the Woodcutter's Axe deck is good enough. Wow, that's so good. Like, it's not a 1 health minion like Babbling Book and Swashbuckler. It's a 2 health minion. And it draws from your deck instead of randomly generating, so it draws you a better card and it has more health. And the drawback is what? You have to be playing rush stuff? I mean, maybe you play this in your Control Warrior deck. Play this guy on turn 6, play Brawl. This could be just good. Town Crier is pretty nutty. Deadly Arsenal, reveal a weapon from your deck, deal its attack to all minions. Interesting. So you wouldn't play this in the Woodcutter's Axe deck. This would be like the Gorehowl synergy deck. Yeah, 6 mana, deal 7 could be good. The awkward thing is, I feel like I would need to have 2 Gorehowls, or like a Gorehowl and a Arcanite Reaper or something to play this, because you don't want this being a dead card if you draw your single copy of Gorehowl. So, especially in a slow deck, you know, maybe you've drawn like 10 cards by the time it's turn 6, and yeah, you know, if one of those is Gorehowl, you can't have this be dead. So, point is, you know, in a very like fatigue-oriented, control-y warrior deck, this could see play, but you have so many weapon options anyway, and you have to not play cards like Bloodrazor to play this. That's a really big drawback. I don't think that this is going to see play. I think this card's pretty bad, mostly because it makes you not play the good weapons like Bloodrazor. All right, Darius Crowley, Rush. After this minion attacks and kills a minion, gain 2/2. This card's absolutely broken. This minion is so fucking good. I think this is an auto-include in every warrior deck. Control, mid-range, aggro. I don't see a reason not to play this card. Pretty much ever. Like, it's just good. You just eat something, and then it's there, and they have to kill it. Yeah. Always a 2-for-1. Good when you're behind. Still a 4/4 when you're ahead. This card's nuts. Black Howl Gunspire. I really like this design. I think it's really cool. I love the flavor of the card. I just have no idea why they made it so awful. This card should either cost like 6 mana or even like 5 mana. This card should cost like 5 mana, or it should be, it should have like 12 health or something ridiculous. Like, the numbers are so far away from being balanced that, like, you know, I mean, this card could cost 1 less mana and have like 2 more health and it would still suck. Like that's how far off of proper balance this card is. But I like the flavor. I think the card is cool. I'm not going to go over like all the reasons this card sucks, but I mean, it does. It's just, yeah. No immediate effect. Requires a whole lot of other cards before it does anything. Alright, Swamp Dragon Egg. Hold on. Death Rattle, add a random dragon to your hand. That's kind of cool. I can't really imagine a deck that would want this. You know, even for a deck like Zoo, you know, you don't really want eggs like this. So I think for the most part, it's not going to be too competitive. I really love the flavor of this card, though. I think it's really cool. Yeah, this is the kind of card that you could eat with your Rush zombie guy in Warlock, I guess. Play Void Terror, eat this. Probably not good enough to make the cut, though. We got Swamp Leech coming in at the 2/1 lifesteal. You're never going to play a 1-mana 2/1 beast in pretty much anything. But the fact that this card is in the game is a really big deal because now you have a 1-mana lifesteal card showing up off of Deathstalker Rexar, and that's a huge deal. That's a really big deal. So anytime this shows up as an option for Rexar, it's usually going to be picked, or in a lot of cases it'll be picked, and it has a ton of potential for swinging the game because of that. I think Swamp Leech is very, very, makes Rexar a lot better. It's actually a big buff to Hunter. All right, Lost Spirit, Death Rattle, give your minions +1 attack. I mean, compare this card to Direwolf Alpha. It's just so much worse. You don't get your 2 extra attack the turn you play it. The stats are worse. Your opponent has counterplay, and they can kill your other stuff first. So, Lost Spirit's just pretty mediocre in every way. Spell Shifter, each turn this is in your hand, swap its attack and health. A 2-mana 1/4 spell damage is pretty neat. I mean, it's Dalaran Mage, but like better. And you can even make it a 4/1 spell damage, which isn't as bad as you would think. You know, against decks like Rogue or Druid, where you're really aggressive, sometimes they don't want to take that 4 damage. But then even against decks like Priest, for example, where they don't have a hero power that can kill it, getting a 4/1 Spell Shifter could be pretty good. So, if anything, I could see myself playing this in a Rogue deck, because it combos well with the new Echo deal 2 damage card, Cheap Shot. Combos well with Fan of Knives. Could be decent in a deck like that. I have tried some decks where I've just put in every spell damage minion in the game, and they are surprisingly competitive. They're way better than they look, and this is one of the better spell damage minions I've seen printed. So, you know, probably won't see play, probably no obvious place for it, but you'd be surprised by spell damage minions. They're better than they look. That one's pretty solid. Vicious Scalehide. We got a 1/3 lifesteal Rush. This card, again, showing up off of Rexar is crazy. There's so many cheap lifesteal beasts. For 2 mana, you get lifesteal, and you get Rush, and you get good stats added to whatever your Build-A-Beast is. I think Rexar, or Deathstalker Rexar, got a huge buff in this expansion. Would you play this card on its own? Probably not. Probably doesn't have a home in really any deck. Blackwalled Pixie, Battlecry, refresh your hero power. That's kind of neat. Spider tank with upside. Yeah, so refreshing your hero power is definitely pretty powerful because this is a odd card, so you can play it in the all odd deck, and then that deck is going to have a upgraded hero power. So you can play Blackwalled Pixie on turn 3 and have decent stats, or you can play Blackwalled Pixie on turn 7 and get 2 of your hero powers. So that's quite a bit of value. It's unlikely, though, that you want to play like this on turn 7 over other stuff. If you're playing the all odd cost deck, you probably have good 7 drops. So we'll see if it's good enough to make the cut. But if the odd deck is looking for more filler, you can do a lot worse than this. This card's pretty solid. You can also use this with like the Uther Death Knight, I guess, but I just don't. It doesn't seem that good, to be honest. It's not worth it for the Death Knight. Not unless it's an OTK, which that card's not. Are they updating Rexar for real now? Hopefully. Alright, we got Hench Clan Thug. After your hero attacks, give this minion +1/+1. This is kind of a big deal. This is a 3-mana 4/4 with all upside, just for Rogue. God, this card is so good in Rogue. Yes, the unfortunate thing is that you can't play it in the even cost Rogue deck, but you can just play it as a good dude in that deck. You have to keep in mind, though, you're playing the new Fox card that gives you a random opponent spell. So Hench Clan Thug is like, this is a minion that you would play in just Tempo Rogue. So you would basically, you hero power on 2, or you play Kelseth, who I think is still in Standard. After that, you play Thug, right, as a 4/4. It's going to keep growing. And then you just play the best thing on curve every single turn, right? So, turn 4, you're playing like Serenite Chain Gang. Turn 5, you're playing Scalebane. And it's just Tempo Rogue like the old days, right? Sure, you don't have patches, but you have so many powerful tools without it that this guy would be a natural fit in that deck. But you definitely want a more aggressive Rogue deck to take advantage of this. This is for like the Rogue deck that just wants the board, not the combo Rogue decks. This card's really powerful, though, like really good in Rogue. I think for other decks, probably not worth it, though. I guess Paladin could get high durability weapons, but... Yeah. All right, we got Marsh Drake, 3-mana 5/4 Dragon, Battlecry, summon a 2/1 Poisonous Drake Slayer for your opponent. A Drake Slayer, I like it. 3-mana 5/4 is pretty easy to deal with. 4 health is surprisingly little. Most 4-mana cards deal with that. I wouldn't expect this to see too much play because other iterations of this kind of mechanic just haven't really been they haven't seen too much play. I think Hungry Dragon for 4 mana, a 5/6, pretty much the same battle cry, but this is like a bigger drawback and worse stat line than a 4 mana 5/6. Like, I'd rather pay 4 mana for a 5/6 than 3 mana for a 5/4. So, yeah, I really think they could have made the upside on this card a little bit higher. I think it was a 3 mana 4/5. It would be quite a bit better. But yeah, as it stands, like, the drawback's just too big, and I think that historically cards like this have shown that they're not good enough. Yeah. We got Pumpkin Peasant, 3 mana 2/4 lifesteal. He's going to swap into a 4/2 lifesteal. Evaluating this card is pretty easy because both sides of it are complete and utter trash, and the flexibility just doesn't matter at all. Ravencaller, Battlecry, add 2 random 1-cost minions to your hand. Interesting. So this is a really big deal for Quest Hunter, like a really big deal. So between Ravencaller and Igneous Elemental, all of a sudden you have really consistent ways to get a lot of 1-drops. You also have Firefly still. You can play Deathstalker Rexxar in your Quest Hunter deck, which is nuts, right? Because Rexxar got a big buff. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see Quest Hunter be like a decent deck, maybe even like tier 2 or 3 or something. Maybe even tier 2, yeah. Could be tier 1, I don't fucking know until we play with them. This card doesn't look that busted in a vacuum, but just because of the Hunter quest alone, it changes quite a bit. Like this card is like very nuts for that deck. Yeah. Odd Quest Hunter. Yeah, you could go odd. You can play the odd synergy cards in Quest Hunter easily. You wouldn't get Rexxar, but you would get an upgraded hero power. Either way, I mean, they're both really strong. So, yeah, it's very interesting. Gonna have to play that and see how it does. You got Tanglefur Mystic, Battlecry, at a random 2-cost minion to each player's hand. Interesting. At a random 2-cost minion to each player's hand. I don't think this card's good. I think that getting a 2-cost minion for ourselves or for them, either way, is just not. It's not a huge deal. Like it just seems like a spider tank without upside. It's a spider tank that's kind of like it's a bit of a drawback. They get to play their 2-drop before you do, if it's good. I think there's just better 3-mana 3/4s right now that have strict upsides. And we don't need to be messing around with Tanglefur anymore. I'm not really seeing the point of this guy. We got Walnut Sprite, I like the art here. Yas, queen. Echo, 3-mana 3/3. Card looks like hot garbage, probably because it is hot garbage, and I will continue. I like the simplicity of that mechanic. We got a 4-mana 1/6 Lifesteal Taunt. Here we go. Okay, so this guy you could play with the Priest legendary that inner fires everything. But then you're playing a bad card to make another bad card good. It's neat. I don't think it's good, but it's neat. Even an inner fire priest, I would be astonished if that saw play. Swift Messenger, Rush. Each turn this is in your hand, swap its attack and health. Okay. This is a big deal. The stat line on this, either way, is pretty good. It's kind of like a defensive fireball if you're playing the 6/2 version. And it's pretty good against small minions if you're playing the 2/6 version. If it's in your opening hand and you know you're playing against a low curve aggro deck, on turn 1 it's a 2/6. On turn 2, it's a 6/2. On turn 3, it's a 2/6 again. So if you have the coin, you can keep this against like aggro paladin and have it be very strong. But if you're going first, you don't want to keep it in that matchup because you won't be able to play it on turn 4 in the size that you want. I think that for the first week or so, these attack and health swapping cards are going to be pretty skill testing when it comes to mulligans, because you have to put your opponent on an archetype during the mulligan phase, and then in your head you have to look at your Swift Messenger and like know what size it's going to be on turn 4. And depending on that, it's either going to be a very good card or a very bad card for you. So, it probably won't see constructed play, but I mean, it's flexible enough that you never know. We got Unpowered Steambot. Okay, so this is where all the inner fire synergy cards are in the neutral unplayables. Public Defender only had 2 less health, and it cost half the mana of this thing, so I'd be astounded if this saw play. I don't know why Blizzard doesn't just skip the foreplay and call it Bastion, It was a literal ripoff. Blizzard's going to sue Blizzard over this card. That's cool, though. I like the flavor on that one. That Clockwork Automaton, double the damage and healing of your hero power. That's a big deal. Double the damage and healing of your hero. Holy crap. Why is this a common? That's such an uncommon effect. This card's so interesting. Holy crap. So you can use it with Hunter. It's an odd cost. It's an odd cost. Oh, this could be a lot better. And okay, so can you play this in? Okay, if you go odd Hunter, right, it upgrades your hero power. It says 2 mana, deal 3, and you play 2 of these automatons. So your hero power becomes deal 6 damage. Or if you play 2 of the automatons, you can deal 12 damage with your hero power. And then every turn you're mashing the button for 6. That's a big deal. That might actually be good enough to beat Warlock before they beat you. You can play a single copy of Automaton in your Warlock deck for the mirror match, right? So you play it with Gul'dan, and then you're draining for 6, and you're going to win the fatigue game. So that could be pretty interesting. That's a very interesting card. I can't believe this is a common. This is a very powerful effect. Very, very powerful effect. I'm seeing odd Quest Hunter as like a natural place for this, and playing it as a one-of in Control War or like Q-Block could be pretty good as well. So, just for the mirror match. There's probably other places you can put it too. It's a very powerful effect. Rotten Apple Bomb, Taunt and Death Rattle, restore 4 health. A lot of people have been comparing this card to Sludge Belcher. The thing about Sludge Belcher is it soaked up 2 separate hits, which was a big deal. So even if this card's saving you a similar amount of life, you don't play cards in your deck to save life. You play them to have a specific role, basically. So a card like Anti-Keelbot that gives you the health up front is a very big deal because that's how you beat getting burned out, right? Like, Rotten Apple Bomb does not help you against getting burned out. All it does is buy time. And there's cards like Healing Touch and Druid that buy time, but they don't see play, right? There's plenty of cards in Priest that just gain you a bunch of life, but they don't see play. Rotten Apple Bomb, a lot of people are saying this guy's playable. I think he's insane if we had N'Zoth in the format still, but we don't. So honestly, I think even in control decks looking for defensive tools, this guy's just not good enough. I think he's not going to make the cut, personally. He's not an awful tool, but the fact that you don't get that healing up front means he doesn't actually help you against burn decks, you know? I can't top deck him and stop myself from dying to Fireball Frostbolt. That's literally the difference between winning or losing a game, so I'm unimpressed with that guy. Darkmire Moonkin, it's a 7 mana 2/8 with spell damage 2. That's actually absurd spell damage. I've played my fair share of Moonkin Druid, and it was very, very fun. It's weird to me that the Druid Moonkin was a beast, and this card is not a beast. I don't understand why. They're both the same race, so why is one a beast and one not a beast? That's fucked up. But that's a huge amount of spell damage on a pretty decent body, and once you get that spell damage, you can get better and better at protecting your minions. So this could see play in anything from like a Malygos Druid type of archetype to a Rogue archetype. It makes your Fan of Knives, and it makes your Cutthroat, whatever, the Echo Cheap Shot, makes your Echo Rogue card pretty good. Has a lot of potential, and I think seeing some stronger spell damage minions is, I'm kind of happy to see that, honestly. It's a cool mechanic, and I think it's been underrepresented. We got Furious Etten, which is a large man with some flavor text and a word. So that's neat. He's actually like Bogchamp, but better. That's a big deal for Arena. Bogchamp's never quite been good enough for Constructed. I have played him a little bit, but not often. Etten's better, but probably not enough better that it's worth playing. Still, it's a very good Arena card. I don't think he'll make an impact in Constructed, though. Wormguard, Battlecry. If you're holding a dragon, gain 1 attack and taunt. That's a big deal. So you're getting a sleepy dragon for 2 less mana. How do you deal with a 4/11 on turn 7? I'm thinking of like Tarlord as well. You know, Tarlord's always been an option for more defensive decks, but he's still never seen play. Playing this guy into like a Primordial Drake would be pretty powerful. I don't really see. I don't see Wormguard being too influential, but if we go to the game and we actually search through the dragons, it's possible that, you know, the dragon deck is better than it looks, but based off what I've seen here, you know, they gave Hunter like 2 dragons, but they weren't great. They gave some other classes some dragons, but they weren't great. There's not like a busted dragon card that I feel obligated to play. And because of that, you know, I think it's unlikely that I'm going to build a Wormguard deck, you know. There's no like Draconid Operative level broken dragon card. There's no Elixraza's Champion. Wormguard's good, but he's not like, oh my god, this is the best 7-drop in the game good. Which, you know, Operative was like best 5-drop. Elixraza's Champion was best 2-drop. Let's see what we have for dragons as far as... can I do... hold on, can I do... Here, let me see if I can do this. Damn, I was hoping I could do both searches at the same time. But yeah, just flipping through these. So we have Carrion Drake, we have the Poisonous Dragon, we have Emerus, the big dragon. Like neither of those are good cards, right? So I think Paladin got a dragon synergy card that's pretty good. It got this 2-drop guy, the Cathedral Gargoyle. So Paladin's a deck you can put this in, but I mean, this is a really defensive card in in a meta that's just, sorry, I'm really zoning out. It is so tough to do this research really quickly. I'm sad that I can't do like multi-searches with this yet. But yeah, we have like a decent priest one. But I mean, that's pretty much what I'm saying. Like, there's no like busted dragon thing that you just have to play, you know? There's no card that rewards you for going in on the dragon archetype so much. Like Primordial Drake is pretty much the best he can do. We'll see how well that card lines up. I mean, this card doesn't seem too good. You can do Nightmare Amalgam, I guess, but that doesn't seem too exciting either. Yeah, so, you know, I guess considering the cards that we get here in this expansion, I think for the most part, Wormguard's going to be pretty unplayed in Standard. So thanks for sitting with me there while I did some research. All right, anyway. So Cauldron Elemental, your other elementals have +2 attack. Definitely not cost-effective enough. Too expensive, stats suck. We got Deranged Doctor, restore 8 health to your hero. That's a very cool card. It's a giant healing guy. We haven't really had one of these before. Most people would say this card's unplayable, but there are times when, you know, a class like Warlock will just be really lacking in healing cards or something, and you'll really want an effect like this. This actually gives Control Mage some more burst healing, which is something it hasn't really had, and the same thing for Rogue. So all of a sudden, we have this like big, powerful healing effect for classes that don't have it. The issue is this is a death rattle, and it's not a battle cry. If it was a battle cry, I think it would be super interesting, but I am happy Blizzard made this a death rattle. I think that effects like Anti-Keelbot should never be made in the game again. Not because they're broken, but because they really limit class identity, you know? Rogue and Mage shouldn't have ways to heal a bunch of health because of a neutral card. They need weaknesses. So I think that, you know, making that card pretty weak is good for class identity. I think it is pretty weak. We got Phantom Militia. I think this card's pretty bad at all costs. Just a mediocre echo card. We got Life Drinker. Battle Cry, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero, restore 3 health to your hero. Interesting. You know, I think the stats probably mean it's not good enough. But as a more cost-effective Nightblade, it's kind of interesting. You could play it in an aggro hunter deck. There's probably better options, but, you know, it is a burn spell on a minion. It's kind of interesting. I'd be surprised if it saw play, but you'll definitely see this Battle Cry coming out for Rexar once in a while. Probably not going to see play, though. We got Mad Hatter. Battle Cry, randomly toss 3 hats to other minions. Each hat gives 1/1. Ah, it's like Mad Bomber, but more flavorful. I love the flavor on this card. It's so cool. Each hat gives 1/1, huh? I guess if you're the only guy with minions, that can be pretty good. You know, comparing it to Defender of Argus, Defender of Argus is easier to use. I still need 2 minions for it. This is a really interesting card. So the thing about Mad Hatter, if I'm the only one that controls a minion, I give it 3 hats, I'm pretty sure. That's a really big deal. That's like almost blessing a king's value on top of a body. That's huge. That's huge. But you need board control for it. I don't think it's good enough, but in a deck like Call to Arms Paladin, this is deceptively powerful. I think it's unlikely to see play, though. There's just so many other good options, especially at the 4-mana slot. But I don't know. A tempo deck that just wants a neutral buff has that option now. We got Night Prowler, Battlecry. If this is the only minion in the battlefield, it gains +3/+3. Wow. Play Doomsayer into this. I don't think that Doomsayer decks will usually want a Night Prowler, but you never know. Could be a meta where we're playing a Doomsayer and aggro decks again, you know. I could see it being pretty strong. I don't know. That's kind of an insane stat line. It gets 6/6. I don't think it's very likely that we see a Doomsayer and aggro meta, but you never know. You never know, guys. we got Scale Worm here. The point is, with Night Prowler, I think it's unlikely that it sees play. Scale Worm, we got the, if you're holding a dragon, gain 1 attack and rush. That's a pretty big deal. A 4 mana 5/4 rush is crazy. Okay, so Scale Worm is a really big reward for being more dragon heavy. That's a big payoff. But yeah, like I said, I don't think the dragons are that good right now. So this is a card that we might see in Wild a good amount, but we're not going to see it in Standard too much. We got the Witchwood Piper. Draw the lowest cost minion from your deck. It's very interesting. I could see a pretty spell-heavy deck that only plays Malygos and one of these or something, so you always get the Malygos. Playing a single minion deck, you're always guaranteed to draw it. A 4 mana 3/3 that draws you a card is pretty powerful, to be honest. And this is drawing you a card from your deck, which is a very big deal. You know, I would not be surprised if this card saw a good amount of play. I mean, even in things like Miracle Rogue, it could see play, right? It's not like Elven Minstrel level of broken, but it's pretty decent. And some decks might want the extra card draw, you know. This is like Gnomish Inventor power level. And Gnomish Inventor, even though it looks like a really crappy card, has seen a good amount of competitive play. Chief Inspector, Battlecry, destroy all enemy secrets. Cool. So we got a Eater Secrets again. Different stat line. Always good to have one of these in the meta. No more Ice Block, though, so I don't think this guy's going to see as much play as he used to. Or as much as, you know, Secret Destroyers used to. We got Witchwood Grizzly. Okay, here we go. So the 5 mana 3/12 Beast, Taunt, Battlecry, lose 1 health for each card in your opponent's hand. This is a very good card. Like a very good card. Almost always this is going to have 7 health. It's even better against aggro decks, which is crazy. Like a 3/12, like a high health Taunt on turn 5 is so good against aggro already. But if they're aggro, they get punished even more because they empty more cards out of their hand faster. God, you're going to feel terrible playing aggro Paladin against like Druid now. They play this guy, they play Spreading Plague. So Witchwood Grizzly definitely rewards you for playing the Beast Resurrection card quite a bit. That alone, this guy alone might be enough to make that card see play. We'll see though. You know, my feeling is that you want a combo Druid deck that can kind of go over the top of what your opponent's doing, rather than playing a fair game where you're making bears and stuff. That's a pretty good bear. It's a very powerful card. This is has a very high chance of seeing competitive play in an archetype. It's just, I don't think the archetype that it fits into is very well positioned in the metagame. That's just a guess though. We got Gilnean Royal Guard, Divine Shield Rush. Each turn this is in your hand, swap its attack and health. Wow. Holy crap. I mean, this is like a neutral Alakir. This is a very interesting card. Unlike a lot of the other Rush cards we've seen, this one is kind of guaranteed to stick around after you play it. So you're going to get that 2-for-1 value. But you're going to get a 2-for-1 out of most 8-drops that you play. Divine Shield and Rush, huh? You know, it's tough to pinpoint a deck that wants this kind of effect. But let's talk about Druid, for example, right? Druid has some weaknesses. It's bad at dealing with really big minions. This gives you a way to deal with a big minion, potentially. That 8 attack is a big deal. So the fact that you can ramp into this guy and then just smack him with this value 8-drop could be decent. I think the stats are low enough that it's unlikely to see a ton of play, but I don't know, it could be pretty powerful. There's some potential behind this card. It does give Druid a way to do something that it couldn't do before very well, which is kill big stuff. It's not unplayable in other classes too. You know, I don't think this is going to be like Bone Mare ubiquitous or anything, but it is a card that's pretty solid just on the surface. Looks decent to me. I'll try it out. I'm curious about this card. I'm really curious about this card. This might be a case where it's just meh and not quite good enough to see play, but it might also be a case where it's like, oh, Blizzard fucked up on a number and it's like Cobalt Scalebane broken, where That's just too good and too many people play it. We'll see. Baleful Banker, Battlecry, choose a friendly minion, shuffle a copy of it into your deck. Okay, so you're not going to play this as like a value card in most decks, but it is a card that's a good tool for some combo decks. So, you know, sometimes you want to copy a specific thing, and that'll kind of let you pop off for your combo deck and get that second copy of it. I'm sure there's something this synergizes with that I'm not thinking of that would be just completely busted, but I'm not sure what it is yet, basically. That's how I feel about that card. I think my phone automatically connected to Wi-Fi, which I feel really bad about, so I haven't seen chat in like an hour. I'm so sorry, guys. My bad. All right, moving on. Let's crank out Nightmare Amalgam. Oh, man. The most delicious minion in the game, in the eyes of crabs. Yeah, so a lot of people were talking about this guy, and I think it's a very exciting card for Blizzard to have designed. The fact that you just have this option for all future decks ever made, any type of card like Curator that's printed in the future, you know, any type of synergy-based deck like Dragons or Murlocs, obviously, that's kind of the role. There are times when they're missing 3-drops, you know. We haven't really had a good Dragon 3-drop, for example. This could fill that role for those decks. We definitely would have seen play back in the day in Standard. You know, is Nightmare Amalgam going to come out and, like, day one do big, exciting things? Probably not, but it's a super interesting card to have in the game. And, you know, it's something that I think will be a role player in a few decks, just inevitably. Like, it's just a card that'll get slotted into a couple archetypes. So I think it's cool that this is in the game moving forward. I don't think it's going to be meta-defining or anything, though. Just a good role player card. Voodoo Doll. Battlecry, choose a minion. Death Rattle, destroy the chosen minion. Very exciting. Holy crap. This is neutral? This is a really powerful effect to put on a 3-mana neutral card. Even when you're playing this the fair way, the fact that you get to choose the minion is ridiculous. I don't like that they made this, to be honest. Not because I think it's broken, but just because I feel like this is really going to mess with class identity a lot, right? It's Paladin and Druid shouldn't be able to just, like, pick a minion and, like, pop it off. This synergizes with so many things, and you don't even have to work that hard for it. You can just cycle Wrath on your own minion. You can use this with Defile and Warlock. You can just use this with like Wild Pyromancer in a defensive Paladin deck. It's a pretty powerful effect. You can just play it for 3 mana. I don't know, it's like, reminds me of Big Game Hunter almost. Yeah, I don't think the card is broken or anything. I just think it's a really interesting effect. I have a feeling this will see play in something. I don't know what that something looks like yet, but I do think that this is a pretty powerful effect. So, yeah, hero power with Jaina, that's true. I mean, if you have Jaina out and you're not dead, you're not going to care about big minions. You don't need the help at that point. Yeah, you could. Oh, it's an interesting card. It's a very interesting card. It's powerful. You could do even mage and be an edgelord, not even play Black Cat. You just do even. Actually, no, you can't do even mage with Voodoo Doll. But you can still play this in odd mage and just ping it off yourself. Still decent if you want like a third polymorph. Yeah. All right, we got Witch's Cauldron. After a friendly minion dies, add a random shaman spell to your hand. I don't think this card will be playable pretty much no matter what. You have to get like 3 spells off of this at least for it to be worth it. Probably like 4. And as shaman, you really don't want your minions dying because you want to make sure you're getting value out of Flame Tongue totems and you're getting value out of Bloodlust. If you're like playing Flame Tongue and you have a bunch of dudes in play and then you're playing Witch's Cauldron, it's kind of like win more, right? You already had the board. You just played Flame Tongue and got like a ton of value out of it. Do you really need a bunch of random garbage on top of that off of this Witch's Cauldron? Probably not. Probably not. I like the flavor though. We got Sandbinder, Battlecry, draw an elemental from your deck. I would be surprised if this card stopped play. Just off power level, it's at the same level as Gnomish Inventor. And there's no elemental deck that's ever wanted to play Gnomish Inventor. So, you know, I think the fact that this really limits what minion it's pulling out of your deck is a reason that they should have given it a few more stats. Like they could have made it a 2/5 or a 3/4. I think that would have been a good trade-off. It's possible that in the combo Shaman deck we were talking about earlier, Sandbinder is a card that you want to play. Because there might be a world where you only play like 5 elementals, like the Harbingers and the Rumbling Elementals. I think if you get all 5 of them in your hand, if you get 2 of the cost-reducing ones, and then you get Grumble, and you get 1 of the Murmuring double Battlecry guys, you could probably do some Go Infinite thingy. And Sandbinder could help you pull those out. I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think he's going to be played in fair elemental decks that have like a mid-range game plan. But I think that if there's the combo-oriented Grumble deck, that might be where we see this guy. And that deck might be kind of spicy, because I got a lot of tools. So, I don't know. We'll keep an eye out for it. See if it's any good. Muck Hunter. We got a Rush 5/8. Battlecry, summon 2 2/1 Mucklings for your opponent. Okay. So you play him, you trade into something, and then they kill your guy back. But the stats on him are so damn big. 5 mana 5/8 is nuts. Rush is nuts on anything. He's got good stats and Rush, and we're talking about a possibly negligible drawback. This guy could be very good. This guy could be very, very good potentially. Like, I'm trying to think about, you know, what is it like to play him in Zoo, for example? He's probably not good enough. Probably is balanced on average. It's a super interesting card. I think that I would be surprised if Muck Hunter saw much play. A little bit surprised, but I think just on the surface, the value on this guy is pretty. The numbers on him are interesting. That's basically it. A 5 mana 5/8 is very impressive. Rush is a sick mechanic. I don't think the Battlecry is that big, but when I think about like the decks I would put Muck Hunter into, there's not a lot coming up. You know, I don't want to play this guy in Q block. I don't really want to play this guy in aggro. It would have to be like a board-focused aggro deck. So it would have to be like. It would have to be like even cost. It would have to be odd cost something. And odd cost. Nah, I just don't want to play this guy. There's just not a deck for him. He's interesting though. Alright, we got Mossy Horror, the Monsters Inc. guy. Battlecry, destroy all other minions with 2 or less attack. It's pretty interesting. I think that. Do we still have Pint-Sized Potion after this expansion? I don't think we do. I think that was Mean Streets. So I don't think we really have a combo piece for this anymore. I think it'd be unlikely for this guy to see play unless there's a card that combos with it, like Pint Size. Yeah, you don't really need a neutral Shadowward Horror in just about any class I can think of. So it'd be a really weird meta call to play that guy. All right, cool. So we got. What do we got? Worgen Abomination. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all other damaged minions. Other is a really important word here. 2 damage to all other damaged minions. It's pretty powerful with Blood Razor. I just feel like I have a hard time seeing why I would play this guy over a Barongeddon. It just seems like more work to set up. This guy's stats are a little bit better than 7/5, but I mean, not by a big margin. I've never felt like I wanted more Barongeddons, unless we're talking about Jaina decks, in which case, you know, this guy doesn't really apply because he's not an elemental. I don't get the spicy lifesteal. Yeah, overall, it's a neat card, but I don't expect this to see play at all.
We got Splitting Fester Root, Death Rattle, summon 2/2/2 Splitting Saplings, and then the Saplings, I believe, continue splitting. Yeah, so, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, this card's a fucking 8-mana 4/4, so let's move on. Dollmaster Dorian, whenever you draw a minion, summon a 1/1 copy of it. That's kind of neat. The stats are bad, but not auto-die the turn you play it bad, necessarily. You want to play this in a deck that is going to draw some minions, like with cards, because just hoping that you get minions off the natural draw is a little sketchy with this. You could play it with some Death Rattles. There aren't really any Death Rattle heavy decks that are going to be coming up in the coming expansion. You know, I guess if you're playing it in Warlock, it's kind of neat. You could maybe high roll and get like you can get a Lackey, you can get a Void Lord. Pulling a Doomguard out is pretty good. It gives your opponent some information about what you drew, which can matter sometimes. Overall, though, I'm not really seeing anything too broken that you can do with this guy. I would be incredibly surprised if he saw much play. I think that, yeah, I don't think we're going to see Dollmaster Dorian see too much play. Roll the Bones, yeah. If a legendary requires me to play Roll the Bones to see play, it's probably not a good fit. All right, again, Greymane. Start of the game, if your deck has only even cost cards, your hero power costs 1. Yep, archetype defining card, very, very key. I feel like I've talked about this archetype quite a bit throughout all of the rest of the review, and I think that Gen is his stats are better than the other guy. It's a lot more reasonable to play a 6-mana 5/5, so. I think it's pretty sweet. I think the Rogue deck I'm really excited about just because of how broken turn 1 Rogue hero power is. Rogue has the best early game scaling hero power in Hearthstone. And to do it turn 1 is a better play than N'Zoth's First Mate. Like, it's better than N'Zoth's First Mate because you go up a card and you're only losing 1 durability and a 1/1. The card is worth more than the 1/1 and the durability on the weapon. So N'Zoth's First Mate was an insane turn 1 play, and it wasn't just because of patches, it was just good. So, like, the fact that Gen means I get a play that's as good or better than N'Zoth's First Mate 100% of the games I play this in Rogue is crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy. There's other very good classes for him as well. I think Shaman is very interesting, worth looking at. I think Paladin is the other one that's very good. Call to Arms, and 1-mana Paladin hero power is crazy good. But it's all like the proactive hero powers he's good with, right? Rogue, Shaman, Paladin. I can see all those decks being very competitive. We got Azalina Soul Thief. Replace your hand with a copy of your opponent's. When I first read this card, I thought it was hot garbage. But then I thought about it a little more, and I figured, well, what if we play this in, like, Zoo, right? And then we just have an empty hand by turn 7. And then you just play this thing, right? And then all of a sudden, you took your opponent's Gul'dan and stuff, and you got all the high-end cards from them. It's kind of like a Divine Favor, right? It's like a 7-mana refill. It could be pretty damn strong. Is everyone what facing, guys? Sorry about that. Sense Demon seems good with the 1/1 dude, same as Minstrel. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, sorry. This guy with Sense Demons could be kind of nuts, actually. You could build a deck that has Dollmaster and you only play Void Lords, and you can go like Dorian Sense Demon. Shitty unless you draw the Dorian with it, and then what if you only play the Void Lords and then you draw the Void Lord? So that you have to play more than just 2 demons. And it's just, I don't know. I think it's too much work to make him good, but that's a good point. Sense Demons is really good synergy. You feel that the Cauldron is neutral, it'd be good in other classes besides Shaman. Oh, sorry, I was talking about the Cauldron like it was Shaman. Yeah, the Cauldron sucks in all classes all the time, no matter what. Just to clarify, the Cauldron's a shit card. But you're right, it's not Shaman. I don't know why I was speaking about it like it was Shaman. Anyway, Azalina. Azalina is a potentially good card in aggro decks that dump their hand early. It's kind of like Jeeves. That kind of rewards you for dumping your hand in a more unique way. It's different from Jeeves, it's different from Divine Favor, but it fits in the same decks, I think. We got Countess Ashmore, Battlecry. Draw a Rush Lifesteal Death Rattle card from your deck. Holy crap, this card is nuts. This card is so good. This card is so good. Just play it. Just play it in things. I don't know in what. I think you probably build decks around this. Like, you know, maybe you squeeze in a lifesteal minion when you otherwise wouldn't. This card is nuts. Obviously, Curator is the biggest example. It's easier to make work than Curator because there's so many good neutral options with these keywords. Whereas, you know, it's like hard to find a playable Murloc for your class usually. I think the taunt is a little bit better than a 6/6, but a 6/6 for 7 is still good. Like, it's still fine. That's a big body. On a draw 3, that's absurd. Yeah, this is kind of like, you know, if anything is going to be like the Bone Mare or the Dr. Boom of the set or whatever, it's going to be this card. I think you're just going to play this in a lot of stuff. This card's so good. I think the 2 attack instead of taunt is not a big deal. I think it's a fair trade-off. And in fact, if it wasn't such a defensive card for defensive decks, the 2 attack is better than taunt on most minions in Hearthstone. On this one, I think the taunt would be better, but I mean, who cares? They're both good. All right, then we got Baku the Moon Eater, who at the start of the game upgrades your hero power if you're odd only. He's really big and stuff. You know, it's like patches. You don't want to draw this guy, right? He's significantly worse than War Golem to play. But obviously, you play him for the start of game at Mechanic. He's going to make your turn 2 pretty reasonable with a lot of the classes in the game. And I think that the odd cost decks are going to be more, a little bit slower, more defensive, right? You're playing your hero power on 2, whereas the Gen decks are jamming their hero power turn 1, and they tend to be kind of the proactive decks like Paladin, Shaman, Rogue. They want to be playing stuff out. So Baku decks are going to be slower. It makes sense that Baku's more expensive. I think that I'm liking the look of the even cost decks more than I like the look of the odd cost decks so far. But they're both going to be a lot of fun to experiment with, and they're really hard to evaluate until we play with them. But yeah, make sure you guys check out the rest of the review where I kind of go over the odd and even cards and kind of, you know, where I think they fit in. But yeah, I think the odd deck's definitely going to be Mage, definitely going to be Hunter. I think Quest Hunter, odd Quest Hunter, could be very good after this expansion. I have a good feeling about that deck. And then we have, I'm missing a class. There's some other one that's really good, I promise. Warrior, maybe. Anyway, dude, that's the Dustwood. We finished it. You know, a lot of the cards don't look broken on their own, but I don't think it's a very dusty expansion. I actually think that this expansion is going to warp the way Standard looks significantly. And there's pretty much no choice because there's a big set rotation, and that always changes things up quite a bit. So, yeah, I think that I think it'll be a really big shakeup. I think Standard's going to be really fun anytime we have a rotation like that happen, and can't wait to be streaming this for you guys the next couple days. In the meantime, right, I am on a trip here in Europe, and I figured I would work a little bit harder today and squeeze in a set review for you here in the morning. But the stream's not over. I'm going to go out into the real world. We're going to pick this camera up. We're going to go on an adventure. We're here with day 2 of a Red Bull Can You Make It? And I'm in Slovakia today, which I found out as a country a week ago. I'm excited to be here. Half the words are Russian. I feel like I'm understanding stuff around me. It feels kind of cool. Yeah, we're gonna go do some cool shit today. So come with me on this adventure. We're gonna pack up our equipment, walk on out. In the meantime, I'll sit here, chat with you guys a little bit, and yeah, relax, you know. Slovakia's actually been very nice so far. I don't mean to talk shit. I was actually just very uneducated. I grew up like one country away from here, like in Ukraine, and yeah, I didn't know, man. Slovakia doesn't come up in conversation much, you know. Do you have a top 10 or so? Oh, for cards in the set? Countess, Baku, Gen, sifting through garbage. Da, 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 da. A lot of the Shaman cards would be on that list. A lot of the Shaman cards are very good. Just put Rexar out of his misery. Actually, Rexar, I think Quest Hunter will actually be a good deck after this. Quest Hunter might be a very good deck, to be honest. Yeah, I'm top 10 would be just a lot of Shaman cards, you know. I mean, it's like obvious stuff, you know, like Black Cat. Like, obviously, power level wise, this card is in top 10. It has to be. But it's like auto-include, you know? It's like, I could say the same thing about the Druid card. But then if the odd mage deck never sees play, then people are going to be like, oh, you said Black Cat's good and nobody plays it. It's like, it is good. It's just the other 28 cards matter more than Black Cat, you know? So it depends on how you want me to give you a top 10, I guess. Off power level, all the cards like Black Cat are auto-include in top 10 power. If I were to rank them by how much play I think they're going to see, I think that the list looks a little different, right? Priest got shafted in this expansion. Yeah. I would put Blink Fox in my top 10. I think the card's sweet. And then, of course, I would put Greymane in there. Greymane I'm on the fence on. She'd be at, like, number 10. But, yeah, Wanted is kind of sweet. Probably not top 10, though. All the Shaman cards, man. Merc Spark Eel's up there. Toad Thing is up there. Fucking Hagatha. Shutterwalk. Shaman got some sweet tools. Oh, Godfrey, for sure. Godfrey's like top 2. Yeah. All right, boys. Should I... I'm good to move out whenever you guys are, so...
Can I just chat with him for like a minute longer? We're just waiting on Homeboy.
Yeah, no rush. I'll give it a minute. I'll change title and stuff. Setting stuff up. Clockwork Automaton deals 6, heals for 12 with Gul'dan hero power. Dude, Clockwork Automaton is such a sick card. It's such a sick card. So, wait, Clockwork Automaton... Wait, why are you giving me names of cards? Is that the 5-mana neutral that upgrades hero powers? Because I really like that card. That card is so cool. I have no idea why it's a common, though. It's such an uncommon effect. This guy, yeah. Card is so sick. Absolutely sick. What time is it in Slovakia? It is noon 40. What about Quest Warrior hero power and the neutral that doubles damage equals 16 damage hero power? Oh, this card with the Quest Warrior. I don't know. You know, whenever I play Quest Warrior, I don't feel like the reason I'm losing is that Rag Fireball doesn't deal enough damage, you know? It's a very different reason that deck loses. I think Quest Warrior is a pretty good deck, though, and I don't think it's losing too much off the top of my head. So it's possible that sees some play. I think you just want to play, like, good stuff Countess decks and, like, Q-Block, and I think maybe 1 or 2 of the Gen decks would be good. Like, the even decks would be good. Like, the odd ones I'm kind of on the fence on. And honestly, the biggest toss-up for me on how good it actually will be is Grumble Shaman. I think that might be a thing. But until I, like, actually build it and see, you know, there's like an 80% chance that it's a hot, steaming pile of unplayable garbage. But there's like a 20% chance that it's actually a competitive, degenerate deck, which would be pretty interesting. I think Quest Hunter will be very competitive. I think Quest Hunter is going to be like tier 2, which is crazy, right? Like, Quest Hunter was so bad for so long, but I think it might actually be tier 2 now. No joke. You have so many game plans in that deck. You don't even have to go all odd. Like you can say fuck the automaton and just play even cards. So the question is, do you want to play what is it, Baku? Is that what he's called? Do you want to play Baku plus double automaton package and have like the insane hero power, or you can just play like Kelseth and Rexar, because Kelseth is Kelseth and Rexar is fucking broken after this expansion. He got so much better. So yeah.